Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Am I visible and audible? Good morning, Roshan. Sarjanjali, good morning. Dhwani, Nazma, very good morning. Purva. Good. Let some more people join in and then I'll begin. A few seconds. I'll take Swarnalata, Zeba, Hansi, Sejal, Narasimha, good morning. Stephen, good morning. Abhishek. Divyani, Yeshita. Right. So in yesterday's class, I covered the Mauryan Empire. We discussed the Mauryan Empire in detail, and then I came to the post-Maurya period. I gave you the highlights of the post-Maurya period. I told you it was a period of about 500 years, 2nd century BC to the 3rd century AD. So 2nd century BC to the 3rd century AD. I told you the important developments. We have the indigenous successors to the Mauryas. The Sungas succeeded the Mauryas. So we'll be discussing about the Sungas in this chapter in brief. So Sungas, then we have the Kanvas and the Shatavahanas. These are the indigenous successors to the Mauryas. Further, we'll be discussing about the mercantile age of India. Why this period is called the mercantile age of India? India had flourishing trade with various parts of the world, and India was exporting more than she was importing. So more money was coming into the country, more bullion, gold and silver coins were coming into the country. So India was enjoying a favorable balance of trade, more of exports and less of imports. Then we'll also discuss the foreign dynasties. Yesterday we discussed the foreign tribes who came into India. The Bactrian Greeks or the Indo-Greeks were the first to come into the country. The greatest of the Indo-Greek kings was Menander or Milinda. And he, under the influence of Nagasena, one of the monks, Buddhist monks in his court, converted himself to Mahayana Buddhism. So we have looked at that. The Greeks introduced military governorships called strategos. They were the first to introduce gold coins on a small scale in India. They are also influenced Indian theatre. And the curtain in theatres, the curtain is called Yavanika after them. Then we came to the Scythians or the Shakas. There were 5 branches of the Scythians or the Shakas. The most important, of course, were the ones who ruled in Madhya Pradesh, present-day Madhya Pradesh. One was the Kardamaka branch of the Shakas, who had Ujjain as their capital. And the greatest of the Kardamaka branch of the Shakas was Rudradaman I, who issued the Junagadh rock inscription. Junagadh rock inscription, incidentally, happens to be the first long inscription in pure Sanskrit, chaste Sanskrit. And it talks about the history of the Sudarshana lake. Then the Ksharata branch of the Shakas, another branch of the Shakas, which ruled from Mandsaur or Mandsaur in Madhya Pradesh as its capital. The greatest of the kings was Nahapana, who was killed later by Gautamiputra Shatakarni of the Shatavahanas. So we looked at that. The Shakas introduced the Satrapal system, the joint rule of a Maha, Kshatrapa and a Satrapa. So we looked at that. And of course, we have the Parthians who were the third to come. The Parthians were from northern Iran, northern parts of Iran. And the greatest of the Parthian kings was Gondophanes, during whose time the apostle of Lord Jesus Christ, Saint Thomas, comes to India. Saint Thomas is considered to be the first Christian pilgrim father. He was the first Christian pilgrim father to come to India. And unfortunately, he was killed in a place called Mylapore in Chennai, off the coast of Chennai. He was killed and he was buried there. He has been buried there. And the Mount of St. Thomas in Chennai is a holy place for the Christians. Then, of course, we came to the Kushanas, the last tribe to come into India. They're also called the Uchis or the Tokharians. The greatest of the Kushana kings was Kanishka. who conducted the fourth Buddhist council at Srinagar in Kashmir. It was presided by Vasumitra, the chairman, and Ashwagosha, the vice chairman. And the Kushans controlled the Silk Route. We looked at that. They controlled the Silk Route. Then, because the Silk Route used to pass through their territory, and they would extract taxes, collect taxes from the silk merchants. That way, more money would come into the would flow into India, in North India particularly, right? Then, of course, the Kushans and the Shakas influenced equestrian sport. They introduced a number of horse accessories, reins, saddles, stirrup, tunic, trousers, right? Gold flowed into India. So a number of horse accessories were introduced by the Kushans as well as the Shakas. And of course, the Kushana kings took their titles upon the Roman Kaiser. So Roman kings used to take the title of Caesar. So they called themselves as Kaiser, of copying the Romans. Similarly, the Chinese emperors used to take the title of sons of God. Similarly, the Kushanas took the title of Daivaputra Shahanushahi, or Daivaputra, son of God. So you have the divine right theory of kingship, which was adopted by the Kushanas. What is divine right theory of kingship? That the king is the representative of God on this earth. If you go against the king, it is equal to going against God. So the divine right theory of kingship was strengthened by the Kushanas, right? So this is where I stopped yesterday. Can I move on? All of you, all clear? I just recapped whatever I did yesterday. Loud and clear. I'm visible also. Maruti, Dikshit. Okay, let me continue. Yeah, Roshan, good morning. Brajneet. Speak slow. Okay. Dhara, Zeba, Yasmin. Okay. So we looked at all these things yesterday. We'll come to the indigenous successors of the Mauryas who succeeded in the country, the indigenous successors. We looked at the foreign tribes yesterday. So the native dynasties on your screen, the native dynasties which succeeded the Mauryas. First of all, we have the Shungas. Now, so the Shungas, they succeeded the Mauryas. We know this Pushyamitra Shunga, he killed the last Mauryan ruler, Brihadratha, isn't it? Brihadratha was killed by him, and Pushyamitra Shunga established a Shunga dynasty. What was the capital of the Shungas? Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh. So this is factual information. So wherever I can, I'll just focus on the important aspects. The rest of the information is there in the PPTs. I'll just only focus on the important aspects. Okay, since it is factual in nature. So wherever it has to be explained, I will explain. Don't worry about it. So Shunga. So the capital was Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh. Founder was Pushyamitra Shunga, who killed Brihadratha, the last Mauryan king, and established the Shunga dynasty. Right? Patanjali, who wrote Mahabhashya, was in his court. Mahabhashya is a book on grammar. This is a book on grammar, and it is in Sanskrit language. So it's a Sanskrit grammar book by name Mahabhashya. And Patanjali was patronized by Pushyamitra Shunga. Please understand, we have the revival of Brahminical religion during this period. In the post-Maurya period, we have the revival of the Brahminical religion or the Vedic religion. Brahmanism received a revival during this period. We have again emphasis given to rituals and sacrifices. So under the Shungas, under the Kanvas, and under the Shatavahanas, this was a common feature. Shungas, Kanvas, Shatavahanas promoted the Vedic religion or the Brahminical religion, which is now called Hinduism. So the Mauryas were supporters of heterodox sects. Chandragupta Maurya supported Jainism. We have seen that. Bindusar supported the Ajivika sect, and Ashoka patronized Buddhism. So Brahminical religion or Vedic religion had received a setback under the Mauryas. Um, in the post-Maurya period, we have the Sungas, Kanvas, Shatavahanas, again promoting and reviving the Brahminical religion. Right now, Pushyamitra Sunga was the first king, and of course, he was succeeded by his son Agnimitra. Agnimitra Sunga. Agnimitra. So Agnimitra is the hero of the play Malavika Agnimitra by Kalidasa. So Kalidasa wrote a few dramas. Kalidas comes on much later in the Gupta period. So today I'll be finishing this chapter and we'll come to the Gupta period later. Now Kalidas, he wrote many dramas. He wrote about 3 dramas. Among the 3 dramas, one is Malavika Agnimitra. Agnimitra. So this is the romance and marriage between Malavika and Agnimitra. So they had a romance, Malavika and Agnimitra, the heroine and the hero of this drama. And Kalidas makes Agnimitra the hero of this drama. So Agnimitra Sunga, the son of Pushyamitra Sunga, is the hero of the drama Malavika Agnimitram, written by Kalidasa. Right. So this is number 2. Then we have, I'll use another page because I require more space. So we have the 6th king of the Shungas by name Bhagabhadra Kashipura. Bhagabhadra Kasipura. So he was the 6th king of the Sungas, and when he was ruling, when Bhagabhadra Kasipura was ruling the Sunga kingdom, we have an ambassador called Heliodorus who comes to his court. So Heliodorus, he was a Greek ambassador. Sent by whom? Sent by the Greek king Antialcidas. Antialcidas. So Antialcidas, the Greek king, Indo-Greek king. So he is an Indo-Greek king, the Bactrian king. So this Antialcidas sends Heliodorus to the court of Bhagabhadra Kasipura. Right? So Indo-Greek king Antialcidas sent an ambassador called Heliodorus to the court of Bhagabhadra Kasipura. When Heliodorus comes to the Sunga kingdom of Bhagabhadra Kasipura, what he notices is that there was a lot of Krishna worship going on. Krishna worship was very popular in the Sunga kingdom. Krishna worship is called Bhagavatism. Bhagavatism. Okay, we'll come to Bhagavatism when I do religion and philosophy in the art and culture section. But it is nothing but the worship of Vasudeva Krishna. And it revolves around the concept of bhakti. Okay. So here he saw that people were worshipping Krishna, and it was very, very popular. And Heliodorus got influenced by Bhagavatism, the worship of Krishna. So what happened? Heliodorus converted himself to Bhagavatism. So he calls Krishna as Deva Deva. He calls Krishna as Deva Deva. Deva Deva. And he calls himself as Parama Bhagavata. Parama Bhagavata, that is foremost of the devotees of Krishna. Are you able to catch me here? Hello, all of you. Are you able to catch me? Can you please raise your hands? Can I move on? I'll repeat it, don't worry. So, Herodotus was sent by the Greek king Antialcidas to the court of Bhagabhadra Kasipura, the 6th king of the Sungas. And he was enamored of Krishna worship. He got influenced by Krishna worship, that is Bhagavatism. And he calls himself, so he converted himself to Bhagavata religion, Heliodorus, and Heliodorus calls Krishna as Deva Deva, that is the foremost of the gods, Deva Deva. And then he calls himself as Parama Bhagavata. And what did Heliodorus do? Heliodorus established one pillar. He installed one pillar okay, this is the pillar. And there was one Garuda once upon a time. Okay, so imagine this is the Garuda. I'm not good at drawing, anything. So you can see here, this is the Garuda. So this is at Vidisha. Vidisha, also called Besnagar. in Madhya Pradesh. So this is called the Besnagar pillar inscription. So this is called so he has got something written on the pillar. He is mentioning all these details. In fact, the Besnagar pillar inscription gives us all these details. This is the first inscriptional evidence of worship of Krishna, incidentally. First inscriptional evidence of Krishna worship. Did you understand? Okay, Dipesh. So I said, I'll keep that in mind, Dipesh. So I said we have Heliodorus coming to the court of Bhagabhadra Kasipura, and Heliodorus was sent by the Indo-Greek king Antiochus. Having come to the Sunga kingdom, Heliodorus got influenced by Bhagavatism, that is worship of Krishna, and he converted himself to Bhagavatism, and he installed a pillar inscription with a Garuda on top. But then, unfortunately, the Garuda has fallen off. It is made of, because of weathering, the Garuda has deteriorated and then it has fallen off. So we don't see the Garuda anymore there on top of that pillar. So this is the first inscriptional evidence of worship of Krishna in the country, right? So this is about the Sungas. The Sungas were killed, they were succeeded by the Kanvas. So the last Sunga king was killed by Vasudeva Kanva, who established the Kanva dynasty. Vasudeva Kanva was the commander-in-chief. So you can see Sungas on your screen. So Sungas were Brahmins. They belonged to the Bharadwaja Gotra. They served under the Mauryas as higher officials. Capital was Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh. You can see Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh here. This is Vidisha for you. So founder was Pushyamitra Sunga, who killed the last Mauryan king Brihadrata. And he is supposed to perform two Ashwamedha sacrifices and also defeated the Indo-Greeks, Pushyamitra Sunga. Now, I forgot to mention this. Now, look here. Generally, Pushyamitra Sunga has been accused of persecuting the Buddhists. So Buddhist sources tell us that Pushyamitra Sunga, the founder of the Sunga dynasty, persecuted Buddhists. That is, he oppressed the Buddhists. He was anti-Buddhist. And he destroyed 84,000 stupas built by Ashoka. Now, what's a stupa? We'll come to that when I do art and culture. But then stupa is nothing but it contains the relics of the Buddha. When Lord Buddha died, his dead body was burnt. And the ashes were collected. Ashes, bones, fingernail, hair, strands of hair of the Buddha were collected. Those are called relics. And these relics were kept in pots. Okay. And a semi-domical structure called a stupa was constructed. A stupa looks something like this. See, this is how a stupa looks like. So a semi-domical structure called a stupa was constructed. Okay, and it contains the relics of the Buddha or a bodhisattva later. Now, Pushyamitra Sunga has been accused of destroying 84,000 stupas built by Ashoka. This is the accusation made by the Buddhist sources, Buddhist books, Buddhist authors as regards Pushyamitra Sunga. But archaeology doesn't support this accusation because archaeology tells us that during the Sunga period, that is during the period of Pushyamitra Sunga, a number of stupas were constructed at Gaya, Sanchi and Barhut. So Gaya is in Bihar, Bodh Gaya as it is called now. Barhut is in Madhya Pradesh and Sanchi. So in these places we have stupas constructed to the time of Pushyamitra Sunga. So archaeology doesn't support this particular accusation made by the Buddhist sources with respect to Pushyamitra Sunga, right? And Patanjali was patronized by him. I hope I'm clear. Yeah, Ashwamedha sacrifice was to establish his supremacy, over his neighbors, right? Udayarani. So this is about Pushyamitra Sunga. Then we come to Agnimitra, who patronized. So Agnimitra was the hero of the play Malavika Agnimitra, written by Kalavidasa. And I told you about Kasiputra Bhagabhadra, the sixth king of the Sungas, during whose period Heliodorus came to his kingdom and installed a pillar. So you can see this is the pillar on your screen. You can see this pillar. This is the base Nagar pillar inscription installed by Heliodorus, the Greek ambassador sent by the Indo-Greek king Antialcidas to the court of Kasiputra Bhagabhadra, right? And the last ruler of the dynasty was, of course, Devabhuti. Devabhuti was the last ruler, and he was killed by his own commander called Vasudeva Kanva, who established the Kanva dynasty. So the last Mauryan king Brihadrata was assassinated by Pushyamitra Sunga. The last Sunga, Devabhuti, was assassinated by his commander Vasudeva Kanva, who established the Kanva dynasty. Clear? Yeah. So factual information, nothing much to think about. And these details are enough. Okay. The most important details about Sungas and Kanvas, they're not a very important dynasty. So whatever is important, I'm covering. You just focus on those aspects. Don't worry about the other things. Then we come to the Kanvas. So Kanvas ruled for a brief bit of time. They ruled from Pataliputra. So the capital of the Sungas was Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh. The capital of the Kanvas was Pataliputra. So Pataliputra was their capital. They were also promoters of the Brahminical religion. And we have the first Kanva, Vasudeva Kanva. He was the founder. And the last king was Susarma. Susarma was the last king. And Susarma was killed by the Shatavahana king, Shatakarni II. So Shatavahanas ruled South India during those days. They were the successors. They were the successors of the Mauryas. So they were the successors of the Mauryas in the south, the Shatavahanas. So Shatakarni II of the Shatavahanas killed Susharma of the Kanvas and established brought an end to the Kanva rule, right? So this is about the Kanvas. Then we come to the Shatavahanas. So on your screen, you can see the emblem of the Shatavahanas. So Shatavahanas ruled over present day. So you can see here on your screen, I'll talk about Shatavahanas, one of the important dynasties to have ruled India, the Shatavahanas. Shatavahanas. So they ruled roughly from 225 BC to 225 AD, almost about 500 years. So for more than 500 years. They ruled for more than 500 plus years. So in fact, this is the only dynasty in the history of India to have ruled for more than 500 years, right? This is the only dynasty in the history of India to have ruled continuously for more than 500 years. The next who come close, the Shatavahanas ruled for 460 years. I'm sorry for that. They ruled for 460 years under 30 Shatavahana kings. So under 30 Shatavahana kings, they ruled for 460 years. So the only dynasty, if I ask you a question, the only dynasty to have ruled for more than 500 years is in the history of India. I've asked this question earlier. Yes, Vodayars. The Vodayars of Mysore. Yeah, you're right. The Vodayars are the ones who are supposed to have ruled for more than 500 years. So we can trace the family tree of the Vodayars from 1399. They began to rule from 1399, and we can trace the family tree of the Vodayars even till now. So they ruled for more than 500 years. Now, Shatavahanas, what is important about the Shatavahanas? What is the important aspect of the rule? We'll just talk about it. Please understand. So Shatavahanas promoted the Brahminical religion. So like the Shungas and the Kanvas, they also supported Brahmanism. So we have a lot of importance given to Vedic rituals and sacrifices. Not that they did not promote other religions, they were tolerant of even Buddhism. Even Buddhism flourished under their rule. So, but then Brahmanism was given more importance. So we have the revival of Brahmanism under the Shatavahanas. That is number one. Number two is they were the first rulers in the history of India to make tax-free land grants to Brahmanas and Buddhist monks. So first rulers in the history of India to make tax-free land grants to Brahmanas and Buddhist monks. Now, what is the meaning of this? You see, you have um, Brahmanas, Buddhist monks, Jain monks. They come to the king. They will come to the king often and ask for donations, ask for gifts and donations. And the king every time cannot keep giving them money. So they are men of religion. Their duty is to propagate spirituality and religion. Buddhist monks, Jain monks, Brahmanas, etc. But every now and then, if they come and ask money from the king, where will the king give money to them? Every time he cannot keep giving them money. So what the Shatavahana kings did is they gave away certain territories, certain portion of the territory to the Brahmanas or Buddhist monks. So let us say this is the kingdom of the Shatavahana king. This is the capital. This is the king here at the center. So he will give a part of his territory, maybe this area. You see here, this area, the shaded portion. This may be a forest or a thorny, bushy area. So he'll give away all Buddhist monks, and he will tell them that this area belongs to you, and you can enjoy whatever you grow there is yours. It will be tax free. The king is not going to tax anything on that land. So here the Brahmanas or Buddhist monks, they will go to that area. They'll see that it's a forest or it's a thorny, bushy area. So they'll clear the land of the forest or the thorns and the bushes, and they'll make it fit for agriculture. And whatever is grown there is theirs. The king is not going to tax anything from that land. Okay. So these are tax-free land grants. Now, so this was a practice begun by the Shatavahana kings. And such land grants made to Brahmanas came to be called Agrahara or Brahmadeya later. Such land grants came to be called Agrahara or Brahmadeya. Now, please understand, the king's officials never interfered in that area unless there was a law and order problem. So the king's officials will not go there unnecessarily, and they will interfere only if there is a law and order problem there. Otherwise, nobody will go there. That land belongs to the Brahmanas or the Buddhist monks. So whatever is grown there is theirs totally, and it's tax free. So they were the first to begin this practice. And such land grants made to Brahmanas came to be called, as I told you, Agrahara or Brahmadeya during the Gupta period. From the Gupta period, it came to be called Agrahara or Brahmadeya. So this is number two. This is the second aspect about their rule. Third is the Shatavahanas promoted the Amaravati school of art. Amaravati school of art. So they promoted the Amaravati school of art, that is in present day regions of Andhra Pradesh. Around the Krishna Godavari basin, we have places like Amaravati, Goli, Gantashala, Jaggayapeta, Nagarjunakonda. So in all these places, we have the so-called Amaravati school of art, which was promoted by the Shatavahana kings. Right? We have construction of Buddhist viharas, chaityas, stupas. They were all constructed during the Shatavahana period, and they promoted the Amaravati school of art. So this is another aspect of the rule. So yeah, and fourthly, the kings were named after their mothers. This is called metronymic. That is particularly from the time of Gautami Putra Shatakarni. So we have a king called Gautami Putra Shatakarni. Shatakarni was the surname of the Shatavahana king, Shatakarni. That was their surname. So he was the 23rd king of the dynasty. And from his time, we have the use of metronymics. Metronymics. What is metronymic? Metronymic is the kings were named after their mothers. Look at the name of Gautami Putra Shatakarni. Gautami Putra Shatakarni, the son of Gautami. Gautami Putra Shatakarni, son of Gautami. Similarly, Vashishti Putra Pulamai, the son of Vashishti. So this is called metronymics. So this was a practice begun by the Shatavahanas. And initially, historians were pondering whether it suggests a matriarchal or a matrilineal system. What is matriarchal? Mother is the head of the house. What is matrilineal? Descent is from the mother's side. So we are predominantly a patriarchal and a patrilineal society. We trace our descent from the father's side. We have surnames from the father's side. Matrilineal is you have surnames from the mother's side. Now, historians thought, looking at this, that probably their society was matriarchal and matrilineal, but it was not anything like that. It is just that they gave a lot of importance to their mothers. The throne, in fact, transferred itself to the eldest son. So, among Shatavahanas, we have it was a very much a patriarchal society. The throne passed on to the eldest son of the king. It was just that they gave a lot of importance to their mothers. That's why they were named after their mothers, particularly from the time of the 23rd king, Gautami Putra Shatakarni. Now, the this king called Gautami Putra Shatakarni brought an end to the rule of the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. Yesterday, I spoke about the Scythians of the Shakas. Two important branches ruled in Madhya Pradesh. One branch ruled from Ujjain as its capital. That is the Kardamaka branch of the Shakas, right? And the greatest of the Kardamaka branch of the Shakas was Rudradaman the first. And we have discussed that. The second important branch of the Shakas was the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas, who ruled from Mandsaur in Madhya Pradesh as its capital. So Gautami Putra Shatakarni was a person who exterminated the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. He brought an end to their rule, and he took the title Gautami Kshaharata Vamsha Nirvashe Sakara. We'll come to that. And the fifth one is, of course, they'll promote a lot of trade. You have a lot of international trade taking place during this period. They control the Dakshinapata route. We have the Dakshinapata trade route that was controlled by the Shatavahanas. So please understand, the Shatavahanas ruled over major parts of South India. They ruled over present-day Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana. So they ruled over these areas, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra, and Telangana, and they ruled for 460 years, as we have seen. And in this long period of their rule, they had many capitals. The latest was Dhanyakataka. Dhanyakataka is the old name for Amaravati. So, as you all know, Andhra, you have the division of Andhra into Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. And for the 10 years, Hyderabad was decided to be the joint capital of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. After 10 years, Amaravati would be the capital of Andhra Pradesh and Hyderabad would be the capital of Telangana. So that's what they have decided amongst themselves. So here the latest capital was, of course, Dhanyakataka or Amaravati. Amaravati was their latest capital. So in their long period of their rule of 460 years, they had many capitals. Kotilingala was one, Pratishtanapura or Pratisthana in Paithan in Maharashtra. So they had capitals like Kotilingala, Paithan or Pratishthanapura, right? And Srikakulam in the Krishna district of Andhra. And of course, we have Dhanya Kataka, or Amaravati. That is the old name of Amaravati. Now, Amaravati is a new name, Dhanya Kataka. So these are the various capitals of the Shatavahana kings. So this is about Shatavahanas. It is not audible. Sham, I don't know about that. Gautami Putra Shatakarni fought with Alexander. You should think about it, whether it can be true. You're a history student. Sham, they belong to different times, but it is nice. It's a imaginary story, I suppose. Whatever movie you've seen about Gautami Putra Shatakarni, he fighting Alexander. So interesting. So there's no truth in commercial cinema, so don't take history seriously. We cannot learn history from them. So we'll come back here. The Shatavahanas. So here they ruled for almost 460 years under 30 kings. They had many capitals, as you can see. Kotilingala, that was their initial capital. Then Pratishthanapura in Maharashtra, Paithan, Srikakulam in the Krishna district of Andhra Pradesh, and Dhanyakataka or Amaravati. Paisachi Prakrit was their official language. Prakrit or Paisachi Prakrit. Paisachi Prakrit was their official language. Right? So we have a number of kings. Simukha or Srimukha. So you can consider Srimukha as the founder, or the first important king was Srimukha or Simukha. Then we have Shatakarni the first, the third king of the dynasty, Shatakarni the first. Now, how do we come to know about Shatakarni the first? From the Naneghat inscription. So in the Nasik district of Maharashtra, we have an area called Naneghat. In a ghat is, is a valley. No? So we have Nanghat or Naneghat inscription. So there's a cave which has been found at Naneghat in Nasik, Maharashtra. Inside that cave, we have an inscription. Something has been written, right? And from that inscription, we come to know about Shatakarni the first. So we also have the images of Simukha, Shatakarni the first, and his wife Naganika. So Nanagat inscription was issued by Naganika, the wife of Shatakarni the first, and we come to know a lot about about Shatakarni the first from this inscription. So their inscriptions were written in the Prakrit language and the Brahmi script. So this was pretty much the script used by Ashoka, isn't it? Throughout India, we have seen that yesterday. He predominantly used the Prakrit language and the Brahmi script. So the Shatavahanas also copied the Mauryas. In fact, many of their administrative terms, many of their administrative terms are similar to that of the Mauryas. Now, so here the practice of making land grants to Brahmanas and Buddhist monks was begun by the Shatavahanas. I have told you. Then we have Kuntala Shatakarni. Kuntala Shatakarni, the 13th king of the dynasty, who patronized these scholars. Gunadhya, who wrote Brihat Katha or Vadda Katha, and Sarvavarma, who wrote Katantra Vyakarana on Sanskrit grammar. So what you do is make small notes. You see, students, see, prelims is factual. You have factual information, you have analytical information. But for factual information like this, as you see on your screen, Gunadhya wrote Brihat Katha or Vadda Katha, Sarvamarma wrote Katantra Vyakarana. So you make cue cards, like this. Like for example, 4 centimeters by 6 centimeters. You make cue cards like this, cut the paper in that size, and in small fonts, small letters, you write this type of information, factual information. Okay, like that. You keep writing like this and keep those notes with you in your purse, in your pocket. And whenever you're free, keep looking at them, keep glancing at them. Like the way we used to remember algebra formulas, geometry formulas, etc., mathematics formulas, in chemistry formulas in school days, isn't it? That's the only way to learn, revise. So please do that, and then things will become easy for you, right? We'll come to that. Devotion, Hinduism got divided into two major sects, that is Vaishnavism and Shaivism, during the Gupta period onwards, Sham. From the Gupta period onwards, we have all the sects either merging into Hindus, all the Hindu sects either merging into Vaishnavism or Shaivism. So this is Kuntala Shatakarni for you. Are you there with me? All of you, can I continue? So you make cue cards like this for factual information and keep revising them. That's the only way to revise. Okay. Then we come to Hala. Hala, 17th king of the dynasty. He ruled for a brief period of time, only 5 years, and he writes a book called Gatha Shaptashati in Prakrit language, Paisachi Prakrit language. Gatha Shaptashati, Gatha Saptasati, containing 700 erotic poems. Erotic is what? Lovemaking. Looks like he had a lot of time. So he's written Hala, romantic poems, 700 romantic poems he writes. Gatha Shapta Shati. Right? He ruled for only 5 years. Hala, 17th king of the dynasty. Then we have the greatest of the Shatavahana kings, Gautami Putra Shatakarni, the 23rd king of the dynasty, Gautami Putra Shatakarni. Now, how do we know about this Gautami Putra Shatakarni? From an inscription called the Nasik inscription. Nasik again is in Maharashtra. I told you the Shatavahanas ruled major parts of present day Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana, and Andhra. So we have the Nasik inscription issued by his mother, Gautami Balashri. So Nasik inscription. And from this inscription, we come to know the great military achievements of Gautami Putra Shatakarni. The use of metronomic also began under him, from his time onwards. That is, the kings named after their mothers. So he conquered major parts of South India, present-day Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra, and Telangana. So you have those details here. You can see Asmaka. These are the old names and the equivalent modern names. Asmaka or Assaka, Bodhan in Telangana. Mulaka, Godavari region in Maharashtra. Rishika, Krishna region. Then Vidarbha in Maharashtra, Setagiri, Nagarjunakonda, Vaijayanti, Banavasi in Karnataka, Aparanta, the Konkan coast. Right? So he conquered all these areas, and then he killed the Kshaharata king Nahapana. Yesterday I have spoken about it. So Nahapana and Nahapana's son-in-law. In bracket, you see I've written Sil. Sil is son-in-law. Son-in-law, in short. So he killed Nahapana's son-in-law along with Nahapana. What was the son-in-law's name? Usavadatta. So he killed these two rulers and took the title Kshaharata Vamsha Nirvashe Sakara. Kshaharata Vamsha Nirvashe Sakara. The one who destroyed the lineage of the Kshaharatas, who ended the Kshaharata lineage. And so he also restruck coins of Nahapana. 800 silver coins of Nahapana were restruck by him. Gautami Putra Shatakarni, the greatest of the Shatavahana kings. So these are the various titles which he took, as you can see on your screen. Eka Brahmana. So this is the most popular title of Gautami Putra Shatakarni, Eka Brahmana. What does it suggest? It suggests that the Shatavahanas, particularly Gautami Putra Shatakarni, was a patron of Brahmanism. He encouraged or patronized the Vedic religion or the Brahmanic religion. So he's called Eka Brahmana. Kshatriya Darpana Mardhana, the one who destroyed the ego of the Kshatriyas. Kshatriya Darpamana Mardhana, Shaka Yavana Pahalavani Sudhana. So great titles taken by him, given by his court poets. Tri Samudra Toya Pitavahana, the one who destroyed or defeated all the three the important kings of South India and dominated the three oceans. Dvijakula Vardhana, Shatavahana Kula Yashat Pratishthapanakara, and Raja Raja. So great titles taken by Gautamiputra Shatakarni because of his military achievements. Then, of course, Vashishtiputra Sri Pulamavi. Vashishtiputra Sri Pulamavi, 24th king of the dynasty. And he shifted the capital from Maharashtra to present day Andhra. You can see here Pratisthana. Pratisthana was in Maharashtra, also called Navanagara, and it transferred the capital to Dhanyakataka. Dhanyakataka is now Amaravati. UPSC had asked a question last year about Dhanyakataka, right? In the UPSC prelims, they had asked this question. So be alert. So that is Amaravati. So he shifted the capital from Pratishtana to Dhanyakataka. 25th king, he married Rudra Damanika. So Shiva Shri Shatakarni, the daughter of Rudra Daman. Rudra Daman was the Kardamaka Shaka king. So his daughter Rudra Damanika was married by Shiva Shri Shatakarni, the 25th king of the dynasty. Then Yagna Shri Shatakarni, the last great king, and he issued Potin coins. What is Potin? It's a combination of copper and many other metals. Copper plus other metals. That becomes Potin. So and on his Potin coins, we have an image of a ship. So that shows that there was a lot of encouragement given to trade by the Shatavahana during the Shatavahana period. That reflects the maritime trade of the period. And Yagna Shri Shatakarni, patronized this scholar called Acharya Nagarjuna. So he was a Buddhist philosopher, Acharya Nagarjuna, also a chemist for that matter. And Acharya Nagarjuna propagated two new philosophy, Madhyamika Karika and Shunyavada. So Yagnesha Shatakarni, 27th king, patronized Nagarjuna. Please remember that. Madhyamika Vada and Shunyavada. Madhyamika Karika, Madhyamika Vada and Shunyavada. And Nagarjuna wrote all these books in Sanskrit language. Madhyamika Karika, Shunya Saptati, Shruhulleka, Pragna Paramita, Arogya Manjari, Rasaratnakara. Shunya Saptati, Shruhulleka, Pragna Paramita, Arogya Manjari, Rasaratnakara. And he's called second Tathagata. Tathagata was the title of Buddha. When I do Buddhism, we'll talk about it. He's called second Buddha or second Tathagata, an Indian Einstein. Why is he called Indian Einstein? Because in this philosophy called Shunyavada, he speaks about voidness. He spoke about voidness, theory of voidness. And Albert Einstein later spoke about the voidness. So there's a part in the space which is void, where there's no sound, light, etc. So that is called voidness. And long time back, Acharya Nagarjuna spoke about what is known as Shunyavada or theory of voidness. And therefore, Acharya Nagarjuna is called Indian Einstein. Yeah, Nazma, that's what I'm trying to do. No, Sham. Gold coins were introduced not by Alexander. Alexander did not issue any coins. This is the second Greek invasion. That is the Bactrian Greeks or the Indo-Greeks. They were the first to issue gold coins. Okay, Sham, am I there with you? Can I move on, Sham? Yeah, Nazma, that's what I was trying to do. I'm trying to highlight the important aspects. No, the second Greek invasion, first Greek invasion is that of Alexander. Second Greek invasion is the Bactrian Greeks when they came into India. Menander was the greatest of the Bactrian Greeks. So they introduced coins with the names of their kings on their coins. Okay, so that is what it is. Yeah, I want to answer your question, Sham. So then we have the last king, Pulamavi the fourth. Pulamavi the fourth was the last king. And on the ruins of the Shatavahanas, once the Shatavahanas declined, we have small kingdoms come into existence, like the Ikshwakus. Ikshwakus who ruled Andhra region, then the Chutus who ruled Karnataka, Banavasi as there was a capital, Abhiras who ruled the Maharashtra region. So these are small kingdoms which came into existence on the ruins of the Shatavahana kingdom. Now, please understand, we look at other aspects. The Shatavahanas copied the administrative system of the Mauryas. Yesterday's class, if you remember, the Mauryan Empire was divided to provinces, and provinces were kept under governors who were either the son of a king, who was either the son of a king called Kumara, or he was belonging to the royal family, that is Aryaputra. So similarly, we have in the Shatamahana period, the kingdom was divided to provinces called Janapada. As you can see on your screen, it was called Janapada, and Janapada or a province was either under the prince, the king's son, who was called Yuvaraja, or it could be the king's relative, who was called Kumara. Right? Then similarly, provinces were subdivided to districts. Districts were called Aharas. So Mauryan districts were also called Aharas. Shatavahana districts were also called Aharas under an Amatya or Amacha. And then we have village, Grama, under Gaulmika. So Gaulmika was the village headman who also was supposed to keep a military contingent consisting of these many animals. So 9 chariots, 9 elephants, etc. So he was supposed to keep that. So king was assisted by a council of ministers. So they copied the administrative system of the Mauryas. They were, after all, feudatories of the Mauryas, the Shatavahanas. So we have different types of feudatories, that is Maharati, Mahabhoja, Senapati. So these are the various feudatories under the Shatavahanas, and the Maharathis could even grant villages, and they could marry into the king's families. So they would marry into the king's families. So they were the topmost of the feudatories, the Maharathis. So you have cities. Nigama was the city headed by city councils, Nigama Sabhas. So merchants played an important role in running the affairs of a city under the Shatavahana kings. Merchants played an important role. Okay, Nigama Sabhas. So it was a very much a patriarchal and a patrilineal society. We have seen that Varna system was in practice. Varna, the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, that was in practice. Intercaste marriages were not allowed. It was prohibited. And people traveled in Civica, that is palanquin. So these are all factual information. Paddy transplantation was practiced in the Krishna Godavari Delta. So this is the rice bowl of the south. Even now it is called the rice bowl of the south, the Krishna Godavari Delta. So paddy transplantation was done there. And then we have, of course, the Shatavahanas controlling the Dakshinapatha trade route. So please understand, most of their stupas, viharas, chaityas, etc. are found in the present day Western Ghats in Maharashtra, Nasik, Karle, Kondana, Bhaja. So all Ajanta, many of the caves in Ajanta belong to the Shatavahana period. So that's what it is. And of course, on the east coast of Andhra, Machilipatnam and Python were important textile centers. So Maharashtra is famous for Pythani. There's a type of sari called Pythani in Maharashtra. It's Pythani. So Python in Maharashtra and Machilipatnam. In fact, the Dutch exported cotton, isn't it? Cotton textiles from Machilipatnam. You study that as part of modern India to Indonesia, isn't it? So here Python and Python and Machilipatnam were the textile centers of the Shatavahanas. Trade centers, as you can see here, these are all the trade centers in present day Maharashtra and some parts of Karnataka like Bhatkal, Banavasi. Rest are all in Maharashtra and Andhra. Dhanyakataka. So you can see Python, Karle, Kanheri, Junnar, Broach, Sopara, Nasik, Kalyan. So these are the important trade centers of the Shatavahanas. Shrenis, of course, played a very important role. Guilds. Guilds are association of merchants dealing with the same commodity. Guilds or Shrenis. Shrenis are association of merchants dealing with the same commodity. Like you could have a guild of potters, a guild of weavers. So that is called a Shreni. So for example, let's say I am a potter. Let's say I'm a potter and I have about 100 people in my association. Okay, I'm the head of the association, and we make pots. So we make rules for for governing our trade. So for example, a pot of this size, okay, a pot of this size, nobody can sell less than 2 rupees and not more than 5 rupees. So this is called Shreni Dharma. Everybody is supposed to follow that. That's called Shreni Dharma. Shreni Dharma. So every Shreni or a guild had to register themselves with the central authority. So Shrenis had to register themselves with the central authority. The topmost head of the Shreni was the king. But then they never went to the king on a daily basis. If there was any problem, they tried to solve their problem related to business or trade among themselves. So everybody was supposed to follow the duties of the Shreni, the rules set by the Shreni or the guild. That's called Shreni Dharma. So they also had a militia that is called Shreni Bala. Shreni Bala. So, for example, let's say a group of weavers, association of weavers, or a Shreni of weavers want to send a consignment from point A to point B. Okay, on 100 bullock carts. On 100 bullock carts during those days, they want to send a huge amount of consignment of clothes, raw cotton or cotton clothes they want to send. So on the way, so 100 bullock carts are going from point A to point B, delivery. And on the way, some people might try to rob these bullock carts and the consignment, right? So therefore, a militia or a small army will accompany these bullock carts to give protection to the consignment, right? So that is called Shreni Bala. So here, the salaries, the rules of running the trade, etc., was all fixed by the guild. And only if they had a problem, they'll approach the king. Otherwise, they'll solve it amongst themselves. So Shrenis played a very important role from the pre-Maurya period onwards, because we hear of Shrenis for the first time during the pre-Maurya period. So even in the Shatavahana period, Shrenis or guilds played an important role. For example, we have as you can see, Dhanik Shreni. This was a association of grocery merchants. Gandhika Shreni, perfume merchants. So these are some of the Shrenis playing an important role. And of course, coins, Shatavahanas issued a number of coins, including 14 coins, and their coins are double die struck coins. That is, it has been struck twice. So the impression on the coins is very clear because it has been minted twice. Okay, so it is embossed twice. So therefore, whatever has been embossed on the coins looks very, very clear for that reason, right? Um, so this is about the Shatavahanas, and of course we have the Amaravati School of Art. We'll discuss about Amaravati School of Art when we do art and culture. Okay, Gandhara, Mathura, Amaravati schools of art, etc. So most of the chaityas and viharas are found in present day Maharashtra. Some are found in Karnataka also, but mostly it is found in Maharashtra. Kanheri, Kondana, Karle, Bhaja, Ajanta, Nasik. Some of their mural paintings. Mural paintings are paintings done on static surfaces like walls. So some of the mural paintings are found at Banavasi in Karnataka and also Ajanta. So some of the caves, there are 29 caves in Ajanta. Ajanta in Aurangabad district of Maharashtra. Some books say 30 caves, and the few of the caves belong to the Shatavahana period. So this is about the Shatavahanas, right? Yes, Sham. Yes, I know. It is. It is. So then we have another dynasty, the Meghavarman dynasty. We'll come back here. Meghavarman dynasty, also called Chedi dynasty. So you see, Kalinga becomes important, became independent after the end of the Mauryas. So Kalinga or Orissa becomes important after the end of the Mauryan rule. And Kalinga in the 2nd century BC was ruled by a king called Kharavela. Kharavela. Now, how do we know about Kharavela? We have the Hathi Gufa inscription in Orissa, near Bhubaneswar, in the Udayagiri hills, near Bhubaneswar, Orissa. We have found a inscription in a cave. This is called the Hathi Gufa inscription. You can see here on your screen. This is called the Hathi Gufa. Hathi, as you know, is in Hindi. Hathi is a elephant. Hathi Gufa. Hathi Gufa. Hathi is elephant and Gufa is a cave. So this is called elephant cave inscription. So in this elephant cave inscription, we have uh, some words seen, some lines are seen. As you can see on the right side of your screen, that's the boulder where we have the words written. But then, unfortunately, many words have got smudged because of weathering. Over a period of time, the rock has weathered away, or because of weathering, an influence of nature. The rock expands and contracts. In summer, it expands, and in winter, it contracts. Because of that reason, many of the words are not clear. But from whatever we can read, from this inscription, we come to know about the military achievements of this king called Kharavela, who ruled Kalinga or Orissa in the post-Maurya period. Right? So this is found in a Jain cave temple. This is found in a Jain cave temple in Udayagiri Hills, Bhubaneswar, Orissa. So we come to know about the military achievements of Kharavela, the king of Kalinga. As you can see on your screen, I put a chart. So he is supposed to have rebuilt Kalinga Nagari, which had been destroyed by floods. So Kalinga Nagari was his capital. It had been destroyed by floods. So he rebuilt that city. He is supposed to have repaired the canals belonging to the Nanda era in the Kalinga kingdom. So irrigation canals had been damaged, and those irrigation canals belong to the Nanda era. So he got it repaired. He is supposed to have defeated the Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas. He is supposed to have destroyed and plundered Pataliputra. He also defeated the Shatavahanas. That's what he claims in this inscription. And he patronized Jainism. In fact, Kharavela called a Jain council in 161 BC. At Kumaragiri in Kalinga. So he called a Jain council or a meeting. He wanted to unite the Jain Sangha. Jain Sangha had got divided into Digambar and Shwetambar. How it happened, we'll discuss it when I do Jainism topic. But then he called a Jain council at Kumaragiri. His aim was to unite the Jain Sangha. He was not happy to see it divided. Like Buddhism got divided into Hinayana, Mahayana, Jainism got divided into Digambar and Shwetambar. He wanted to unite it, but then this effort of Kharavela failed. So he was a patron of Jainism. This is the information we get from the Hathi Gufa inscription in the Udayagiri Hills, Bhubaneswar, about the king Kharavela. Are you there with me? All of you clear? So whether this is a factual or analytical, I have to do it because we are covering the syllabus. So there could be a part of the syllabus which is very, very interesting. Okay, there could be parts of the syllabus which could be factual and therefore boring. But then as a teacher, I'm supposed to cover entire syllabus, and that's what I'm trying to do. So I request your cooperation and patience because you have to prepare. You have to read all these things, whether it's factual or analytical, right? So we'll come back here. So this is about the indigenous dynasties which succeeded the Mauryas. So we have covered the Sungas, the Kanvas, the Shatavahanas, and the Meghavarman dynasty or the Chedi dynasty. So as you can see here, Meghavarman dynasty or the Chedi dynasty. So Kharavela belonged to this dynasty, the Meghavarman dynasty or the Chedi dynasty. It's also called Cheta dynasty. Cheta dynasty. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Dipesh. So you can see here the empire of Kalinga, the empire of Kharavela's kingdom, the map of Kharavela's kingdom. Right. Now let us come to the foreign trade in the post-Maurya period. You can see here the map. On your screen, see that map here. So these are the trade routes. Okay, these are the trade routes which existed in ancient India. And that arrow mark in green color. So you have two big arrow marks, one pointing towards India, okay, in a north direction, and then one to the south direction. This is the direction of the monsoon. As you know, monsoon is a seasonal wind, and during this period we have an Egyptian sailor called Hippolytus. So he was an Egyptian Greek sailor called Hippolytus. In 46 AD, he noticed that Winds blow in a particular season towards India, and it brings a lot of rain to India, and the winds are blowing towards India. So this is known. This is the monsoon, and the word monsoon is from the Arabic word mosim, isn't it? The word monsoon is from the Arabic word mosim. Now, once the mechanism of the monsoon was discovered, we have a number of foreigners who began to come to India in the monsoon season. Why did they come in the monsoon season? Because it is easy to travel, easy to navigate, because they just have to adjust their sails, the sails of their ships, and the wind gets trapped in those sails, and then it will push the ship. They just have to maneuver and then come to India. And why did they come to India? They came to India for spices. They came to India for spices and textiles. They came to India for spices and textiles. Now I go back to the map here. You can see. So spices like what, you might ask? Pepper, ginger, cardamom, cloves, nutmeg, cinnamon. So there are so many types of spices. So these foreigners came to India in the monsoon period to pick up spices and cotton textiles. And slowly, what happened is we have more and more foreigners coming to India for spices. The most favorite of the foreigners was pepper. Pepper is called Yavana Priya for that reason. Yavana means foreigner. Yavana Priya means the favorite amongst the foreigners, and that was pepper. So even now, when the weather is cold, or even otherwise, when you have pepper, either pepper, something made of pepper, whether veg or non-veg, there's water in our mouth, and we also start sweating. So it has a lovely taste, the pepper, isn't it? It changes our mood. So spices are not grown throughout the world. It can be grown only under certain ecological conditions, as you all understand. So the foreigners used to come to India for spices. Why did they require spices? You might ask. Why did they require spices? Why did they take the trouble of coming all the way to pick up spices? Anybody? Zeba warmth. Sham has hit the bullseye. Sham, you're right. To preserve food, very good. Brajneet, to prevent food in winters, preservation of food. Apurva, Purva, Dipender, very good, very good. You see, those days the Europeans had used to cover their meat, smear their meat with spices, in order to increase the shelf life of meat. Though many of the European countries had ice in their backyard, you have snowfall in many parts of Europe. Though they had ice in their backyard, they had not understood the benefit of refrigeration. So they did not know the benefit of refrigeration. So they used to come all the way here to the Orient. Orient means countries in the Eastern Hemisphere. Countries in the Eastern Hemisphere are called Oriental countries. So they used to come and pick up spices, and then they'll go back and smear the spices, make masala, and then they'll apply it on the meat. That would increase the shelf life of meat. And they were forced to eat meat simply because you have snowfall for many months in the year in Europe, in major parts of Europe. So you cannot engage in agriculture because the weather will not permit it. So they have to survive, and they were forced to eat meat. Okay, now they used to come to India and pick up spices for that reason. Now the demand became more and more. The demand became more and more, and India alone could not meet the demand for spices from the Europeans. The demand was made by the Europeans, so India could not meet the demand. So what our traders used to do is, our people used to do is, they used to quietly come to Indonesia. You can see on your screen, we have the Indonesian Spice Islands. These are called the Spice Islands. Indonesia is an archipelago. It's an archipelago consisting of many islands: Java, Borneo, Bantam, Malacca. They're called Spice Islands. So our traders knew that there was a lot of spices in Indonesia, and that too at a very cheap price. So they'll come to India, they'll take the orders from the Europeans. They will say, we will supply your spices, just wait. and they'll quietly come to Indonesia. They'll, and they will get huge amount of spices from Indonesia at a very cheap price. And then they'll bring it back to India, and then they'll sell it to the Western merchants. They did not tell the Western, our fellows are very smart. From ancient times, Indians are very, very smart. And we are good people also, businessmen also. So we did not tell the Europeans, you go to Indonesia and pick up spices. We will lose business. So we told them, you wait, we'll give you the spices. And then we were able to sell the spices to the Europeans at a huge price. And since Indian traders made a huge amount of profit by this trade, Indonesia, this region, which is now called Indonesia, came to be called Suvarna Bhumi and Suvarna Dvipa. Suvarna Bhumi or Suvarna Dvipa, Golden Islands. Golden Suvarna Dvipa. Dvip is, island. Suvarna Bhumi is golden lands. So they came to be called that. In ancient Indian literature, we refer to Southeast Asia, particularly Indonesia, has Suvarna Bhumi and Suvarna Dvipa. I clear name. Now look here, on your screen, you can see those red color trade routes. You can see the red color trade routes. Now, so India traded with West Africa. You can see here on your screen, India during this period traded with West Africa. So what are the countries it traded with West Africa? Basically, we have Egypt. Egypt was one. So our people traded with Egypt. Egypt. And of course, you have Ethiopia. Ethiopia is called, Abyssinia. Abyssinia or Ethiopia. And so through the Arabian Sea, Indians traded with West Africa. We basically gave them steel cutlery. So steel cutlery, utensils were sold to the Africans by Indians, Ethiopia and Abyssinia. Then you have these are the routes you can see here on your screen. This is called the Red Sea route. This is the Red Sea route. Red Sea route, right? And this is called the Persian Gulf route. Persian Gulf route. So basically, there were three routes to come to India during those days. One was the Red Sea route. So they will travel via the Mediterranean Sea like this. They'll enter. Nowadays, we have the Suez Canal. Suez Canal is here. During those days, we had no Suez Canal. So they'll travel over land for some distance. And then they'll enter the Red Sea and come all the way like this to India. This is called Red Sea route. The second route is the Persian Gulf route. They will travel over land, okay, like this, the Europeans, via Syria, Iraq. Then they'll enter the Persian Gulf and then they'll come to India, right? And the third route is the way Alexander came, by the overland route. So there were three main routes between the west and the east in ancient times. Then Indians during this period also traded with the Roman Empire, particularly the southern kingdoms. You have the Cholas. You see, you have the Cholas, you have the Cheras here, that in Kerala region, and Pandyas. So the Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas traded with Roman Empire. So through these routes, through the Red Sea route or the Persian Gulf route. It was mostly through the Red Sea route. They took the route. They had contacts with Romans. So we have the Emperor of Rome, Augustus Caesar, who sends an ambassador to the Pandyan court. Pandyan. So his name was Pandyan, the Pandyan king. So he sent an ambassador to Augustus Caesar of Rome, and Augustus Caesar of Rome in turn returned an ambassador to the court of the Pandyas. So we have evidence, archaeological and literary evidence is there. And what did the Romans demand? They demanded spices. They asked for spices, sandalwood, and of course textiles. So this was the main demand of the Romans. Then we have India also trading with Southeast Asia. You can see here on your screen, Malaysia, Indonesia, etc. Myanmar, that is Burma, Thailand. So these are the various routes taken by the Indian merchants. So they used to come to Indonesia, and then they used to also go to China like this. They used to go to China and trade with China. So we have found Chinese coins in Mysore region. The archaeological department has found Chinese coins of the post-Maurya period in Mysore region. How did the Chinese coins find themselves in Mysore region? Obviously because of trade. Similarly, we have found a wine amphorae in Arikamedu. So you see, you have Pondicherry, Puducherry, nowadays called Puducherry. That's the new name, isn't it? Puducherry. So we have in Pondicherry, very near to Madras, Pondicherry. Those days called Arikamedu. Arikamedu. We have found wine amphorae. What's a wine amphorae? We have found lot of pot shreds. And those days, wine used to be imported by our people from Rome. So it used to come in huge pots on ships. So we have found such pot shreds, wine amphorae, which contained wine once upon a time. So some cursory digging at Arikamedu or Pondicherry has found a lot of wine amphorae. So we have archaeological evidence and literary evidence as regards trade between India and various parts of the world during this period, right? And India had a flourishing balance of trade, that is more of exports. She exported more than she imported. So a lot of money, gold, bullion. Bullion means gold and silver coins. Bullion, gold and silver coins found themselves into India, right? So this is the overview of this topic, and we also have an anonymous trader from Alexandria. So you see, Alexander founded a number of cities, like for example, Alexandria in Sindh, Alexandria in Egypt, etc. So he founded a number of cities after his name. He also founded a city in memory of his horse, Bucephalus. It was called Bucephalia. So in Alexandria of Egypt, we have a book which has been found. This is called Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. So this is the name of the book called Periplus. Who is the author? It is anonymous. We don't know. So it is written by an anonymous writer. He has not mentioned his name. So he is anonymous, or he or she is anonymous. We don't know who that person is, but he writes a book called Periplus. He was from Alexandria, an anonymous sailor from Alexandria in Egypt. It's called Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. In this book, he gives us the list of important ports on the west coast of India and on the east coast of India. So you need to understand the important ports on the west coast of India, okay, and on the east coast of India. And historians have try to find out which is the new name, which is the modern name. So you need to know the old name and the equivalent modern name given by Periplus. So this is about the trade of this period. As you can see on your screen, let us go through it. So this is called the Mercantile Age of India, 2nd century BC to 3rd century AD. It's called the Mercantile Age of India because India had flourishing trade with various parts of the world. So India traded with China, with Iran, that is Persia, Southeast Asian countries, and Roman Empire. So you see, we have trade with China. So what are the exports? What are the things which we traded with China? China exported tea. So not tea, she exported silk. China exported silk and porcelain. Porcelain is a cup and saucer. So these are the two imports of the Chinese. So we have Ptolemy's geography. Ptolemy writes a book called Geography. So Ptolemy is the name of the author. So he writes a book called Geography. In that, he talks about the trade routes connecting India and China. So silk fabrics and porcelain utensils were imported from China. And we have found Chinese coins in Mysore region. In the archaeology excavations, we have found coins in the Mysore region. Then India traded with Africa, particularly with Egypt and Abyssinia or Ethiopia. So we have found steel cutlery. Steel cutlery was exported by the Indians to Egypt and Abyssinia. Abyssinia means Ethiopia. Old name of Ethiopia is Abyssinia. Then India traded with Southeast Asia. Particularly, we have from Southeast Asia, that is Indonesia, Malaya, etc. India picked up spices. So spices, sandalwood came from Southeast Asia to India. So we have this Tamil epic called Shilapadigaram. Shilapadigaram, the Tamil epic, talks about ships loaded with sandalwood and spices coming to India from Southeast Asia. Right? As I told you, Southeast Asia was called Suvarna Bhumi or Suvarna Dvipa, Golden Islands. Further, India had trade with Roman Empire. And what are the exports? What are the things we exported to Rome? We exported spices, cotton textiles, and of course, pearls. You can see here on your screen, Muslin and calicos. Muslin and calicos means cotton cloth. Muslin, calicos. So they basically came from the Chola and the Shatavahana kingdoms. And you have this Roman writer called Pliny. Pliny is a Roman writer, and he complains that Rome was losing 550 million sesterces to India. So there was a drain of gold from Rome to India because Roman people began to demand Indian cotton cloth. It was thin as a slough of a snake. Slough means skin. So, Indian cotton cloth, muslin, calicos, etc., were as thin as the skin of a snake, and it was very skin. It was very comfortable to wear that type of dress, that type of textiles on the body, because it breathes. Cotton breathes, isn't it? So, Roman people, particularly the women, were using the Indian calicos and muslins, and there was so much of demand for Indian cotton cloth that Pliny calls upon the Roman authorities to ban this trade with India, because he says Rome was losing this much amount of money to India. 550 million sesterces, gold coins, were lost by Rome to India. So he calls upon the people to ban this trade, right? So we have um, muslin and calicos. Then we have, of course, spices from the Chera country, from Kerala. Spices were exported to Rome, and Pandya, from the Pandyan kingdom, pearls were exported. So these are the major exports to Rome during the ancient times. Then, as I've mentioned to you, there was a person from Alexandria in Egypt. We don't know his name. He writes a book called Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. In this particular book, we come to know the important ports on the west coast and the east coast of India. As you can see on your screen, see, this is the names of the ports and the equivalent modern names in the brackets. So, for example, he talks about Barigaza. He talks about Barigaza, that is supposedly Bharuch in Gujarat. You can see here on your screen, Barigaza. This is Barigaza for you. Barigaza, that is Bharuch in Gujarat. So please try to understand the old names and the equivalent modern names. Then he talks about Kalyana or Kalyan in Maharashtra. So of Bombay, very near to Bombay, or within Bombay, now it has become part of Bombay. So we have Kalyan in Bombay. So that was another important port. He talks about it. Supara, again in Maharashtra. Supara, you can see Supara, Maharashtra. Then Tindis is Calicut. Tindis is Calicut, or Koigod, as it is called, Koigod in Malayalam language. So Tindis, Calicut. Then Muzuris or Krangano near Cochin in Kerala. So Muzuris, Krangano, there was a settlement of Roman traders has been found here. A settlement of Roman traders has been found at Muzuris or Krangano near Cochin, Kerala. Poduka, that is Arikamedu. Pondicherry during those days was called Arikamedu or Poduka by the Romans. A Roman settlement has been found here. You can see here Poduka, Puducherry as it is called now. Then Masula, that is Machilipatnam, Masalia or Masula, Machilipatnam in Andhra Pradesh. You can see here Masula, Masalia. So this is Machilipatnam, right? Then of course Gang, Tamralipti, Bengal. So Gang is Tamralipti, Bengal. So this is the one, right? So these are the important ports mentioned by this in this book called Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, written by an anonymous sailor from Alexandria in Egypt. Are you there with me, all of you? Arikamedu. Arikamedu is Pondicherry. Indians imported, of course, horses, wine, luxury products. These are some of the things which Indians imported from outside. Wine was one, horses were another, right? And some precious metals, which was not available here, like that. So here on your screen, you can see what is the reason for this flourishing trade. Of course, the monsoon mechanism. The monsoon mechanism was one. It was discovered by Hipparchus. And then we have the diversion of the Silk Route to India. On your screen, look here. This is the Silk Route. Okay, starting from China, going all the way towards Kashgar. So this terminated at a place called Kashgar. So somewhere here you have an area called Kashgar. So the Silk Road terminated here, it stopped there. So Western traders used to come to Kashgar and pick up Chinese silk and take it to European countries. Particularly the Italian merchants used to take it to European countries. Now, what happened is, because of the Silk Route going through Central Asia, you have a lot of inter-tribal conflicts here. Lot of wars were going on, intertribal conflicts. So it was not easy to carry the goods smoothly for these merchants and traders, because they had to avoid those areas where there was a lot of war and intertribal conflicts going on. So what they did is they diverted the Silk Route to the northeast portions of India. So they, through the northeast portions of India, the Silk Route, as you can see here, the Silk Route has been diverted like this to the northeast portions of India, and via land they will take it to the western seaports. They will take it to the western seaports, that is, your Konkan coast, Gujarat, and from here they will take it to European countries. So India got benefited because of this transit trade. Transit trade is, there is a so there was a diversion of the Silk Route to the northeast. So they'll bring all the goods from China, like porcelain, silk, etc., from rice. So they will carry that to the northeast portions of India. From the northeast overland, they will take it to the western seaports of India and then take it to Roman Empire. Did you understand this? So India got benefited because of this transit trade. All of you clear? So this is mentioned here. Please go through it. So India got benefited because of this transit trade, right? All clear? Okay, good. And what are the exports I've already mentioned? Zeba, how can clothes be made of skin of snakes? I said the clothes were as thin as the slough of a snake. The skin of a snake. As thin as the skin of a snake. Zeba. Okay. Okay, fine. Now, what about the religious conditions of the post-Maurya period? Look here on your screen. We have some important developments happening during this period in the religious area. First of all, as I told you, we have revival of the Brahmanical religion. So Brahmanical religion got revived during this period. Brahmanical religion. So you have revival of Brahmanical religion. We have the Shungas, the Kanvas, and the Shatavahanas promoting the Vedic religion. Shatavahanas promoting the Vedic religion or the Brahmanical religion. That is number one. Number two is we have the final division in the Buddhist Sangha into Hinayana, Mahayana. So you totally 4 councils took place. When I do Buddhism, I'll talk about it. When I do art and culture. So in this, so after the death of the Buddha, there were 4 councils, 4 Buddhist councils. In the 4th council, Buddhism got divided into Hinayana and Mahayana. So it happened during this period, in the post-Maurya period. So we have the final division of Buddhism into Hinayana, Mahayana. Thirdly, we have the worship of Krishna, which becomes very, very, very important during this period. Bhagavatism. Bhagavatism became very, very popular during this period. That is worship of Vasudeva Krishna. And the concept of bhakti comes into existence. So bhakti becomes very, very important as part of religion. And we have another cult called Pancharatra cult, which came into existence. Pancharatra cult. Pancharatra. This is part of Bhagavatism. Pancharatra literally means 5 nights. Panch is 5. Ratra is Ratri, that is nights. So literally means 5 nights. It is nothing but the worship of Vasudeva Krishna and the 4 Yadava heroes. So when you worship Vasudeva Krishna and 4 Yadava heroes, it is called Pancharatra cult. So who was the person who founded this cult? Shandilya, sage Shandilya. So he was the one who founded this cult. You can see here on your screen, the Pancharatra cult. So worship of these 5 heroes is called Pancharatra cult. So Vasudeva Krishna, worship of 1, Vasudeva Krishna. Then Sankarshana or Vyuha Sankarshana or Balaram. Balaram is the elder brother of Krishna, isn't it? So they worship Balaram or Sankarshana, elder brother of Krishna. Then Samba is worshipped. That is, Samba is a son born to Krishna and Jambavati. So Krishna's one wife was Jambavati. So the son born to Krishna and Jambavati is Samba. So they worship Samba. Then Pradyumna, Krishna married Rukmini. Rukmini is another wife of Krishna. So the son born to Krishna and Rukmini is Pradyumna. And Aniruddha is a son of Pradyumna and the grandson of Krishna. So Aniruddha, son of Pradyumna and the grandson of Krishna. So when they worship all these five heroes, they're called five Yadava heroes. It is called Pancharatra cult. So Vedic religion revived during this period, in the post-Maurya period. Again, emphasis was given to rituals and sacrifices. And this happened because of the patronage given to Vedic religion by the Shungas, Kanvas, and the Shatavahanas. Number two, we have the Pancharatra cult come into existence, worship of Krishna and the four Yadava heroes, Vasudeva Krishna. Then, of course, we have Vyuha Sankarshana or Balaram, Samba, the son of Krishna by Jambavati, then Pradyumna, the son of Krishna born to Rukmini, and Aniruddha, the grandson of Krishna and the son of Pradyumna. So this is about Pancharatra cult. And of course, I told you the earliest inscriptional evidence of Krishna worship comes from this period, the Besnagar pillar inscription installed by Heliodorus. So Heliodorus installed this pillar inscription with a Garuda on top. And this is the earliest inscription which talks about the worship of Krishna. Right? And many of the foreigners took to the worship of Krishna. Right? And Buddhism got divided to Hinayana, Mahayana. So these are the important aspects regarding religion during this period. Then we come to Sangam age. Are you there with me, all of you? Can I move on? So let us come to Sangam age, megalithic culture, megalithic burials. So we'll talk about what is megalith, okay? And then we'll come to Sangam age. Okay. Now look here. What is megalithic culture? What is megalithic culture? What is it? Very simple. So we have done Stone Age, Paleolithic period, Mesolithic period, Neolithic period, Chalcolithic period. We have done that. Now, what is megalithic? So you will split the words mega, large, lithic, stone. So this is nothing but large Stone Age culture. Large Stone Age culture. Now, what is the meaning of this? So in ancient India, in the around this time in ancient India, in the post-Maurya period, what we notice is in parts of Tamil Nadu, in major parts of Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Kerala, parts of eastern Uttar Pradesh, what we notice is that when somebody died, a pit was dug up. You see, there's a pit. A pit was dug up. The dead body was buried. So this is the dead body which has been buried in this pit or grave, and this and along with the dead body, some grave goods were left. Grave goods were left. Okay, what are these? What did it contain apart from the dead body? You have pots. Okay, so this is a pot. These are the pots. Imagine. So they are basically polished black and red ware. Black and red pottery. So either they are painted black or they are painted red. So this is polished black and red ware. So pots have been found, or pot shreds have been found. And then we have iron implements. Which have been buried along with the dead body. They are mostly hunting weapons and fishing weapons. Hello. So along with these grave goods, we have found pots, either painted black, polished black and red ware. So they have been painted black or red and then polished. And then iron implements have been found. They are mostly hunting and fishing weapons. Hunting weapons, fishing utensils or implements. And hardly any agricultural tools are found. Very less agriculture tools are found. or implements are found. So very less agricultural tools. Okay, so we have found these grave goods. Then so when you dig up the pit, you find the dead body, or you have no dead body, but because it has withered away, when the bones have withered away. But then we find these grave goods, pots and iron tools and implements, mostly hunting and fishing weapons. Hardly any agricultural tools. So once the uh, dead body was buried and these grave goods were kept inside the pit was covered. So imagine this is the pit. This has been covered in mud, covered with mud. So what the people in these areas used to do is they used to arrange stones like this on your screen. Look here, they used to arrange stones like this. Okay, so the ground is flat, right? Wherever the dead body has been buried, they have arranged stones like this, and they'll keep a big stone like this. That's called a capstone. They'll keep a big stone like this. So there are different types of burials like this. We have an urn burial, then pit circle grave, and we have of course a cyst grave. These are the three types of burials found, right? And this type of burials or this type of culture is called megalithic culture. Now, what is the meaning of this? What is the meaning? What is the conclusion we can make from these burial finds? So, archaeologists believe that people in the south in post-Maurya period, they had a hunting and a fishing economy. They had a hunting and a fishing economy. So, weapons of war. So, war weapons. I forgot to mention. War weapons have been found along with hunting and fishing weapons, hardly any agricultural tools. So they did not practice advanced form of agriculture. They might have practiced agriculture on a very, very small scale, but mostly they had a hunting and a fishing economy. So this is known as megalithic culture or megalithic burials, right? This is called megalithic culture and or large Stone Age culture. And the Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas were in the late megalithic phase. That is, the megalithic phase was slowly coming to an end. The megalithic phase was slowly coming to an end. So this is called megalithic culture. Did you understand, all of you? I'm coming to that. Yeah, Sham, I told you, Indians knew how to make silk in ancient times. Yes, Indians used to collect. So you have the silkworm. Okay, what does the silkworm do? It munches on the mulberry leaf and it starts weaving a cocoon around itself. So it keeps on eating mulberry leaf and puts on weight 1,000 times its original weight, the silkworm. And what does it do? It starts weaving a cocoon around itself. And then what the Chinese used to do is they used to put that in hot boiling water, the worm dies, and then they'll extract silk. What we Indians used to do is the silkworm, weaves a cocoon around itself, and then later it flies away. Through that process, later it becomes a fly and flies away. Whatever silk was remaining, we used to collect it from the plant, and then we used to make silk. So that type of silk was not very, very strong, but we used to make silk like this. We did not know the Chinese method of making silk. So whatever the world is following now is a Chinese method of making silk. Okay, Sham. Yeah, this is a big stone on a grave. Yeah, Yasmin, I'll come to that. Just hold on. Okay, you can see here on your screen. So this is called megalithic burial. So this is a distribution of megalithic sites in peninsular India, where all these have been found. Where all these have been found, on your screen you can see here, such type of burials have been found in Andhra, Eastern Andhra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, southern hilly areas of southern UP, and even Sri Lanka. They are also called dolmens. Such burials are also called dolmens. The famous megalithic burial or dolmen is Stonehenge in England. So you must have heard about Stonehenge in England. That is a example of a megalithic burial. So from the type of grave goods we have found in these pits, we come to know the material culture of the people, what type of a culture they had. Obviously, they had a hunting and a fishing economy. They hardly had any knowledge of agriculture because very less agricultural tools have been found. So they might have performed primitive type of an agriculture. mostly relying on hunting and fishing. And of course, they used to go to wars. So iron tools and implements have been found along with these grave goods. So you can see here on your screen, urn burial. So what is this urn burial? So the dead body was burnt. The body was burnt, and the ashes were collected in a pot. You see, this is the pot. And inside the pot you have a skull. So imagine this is the skull, right? You have bones. So all those things, ashes, fingernails, etc. So the bones of the dead person were collected in a pot or an urn. The pot was buried in a pit, usually surrounded by circle of stones. That is called urn burial. So you can see here. So this is the pit. So this is the urn. This is the pit. This is the urn pot, and they have covered this uh, grave with mud, and then they'll arrange stones like this. And on top of it, they'll put a capstone. You can see here, this is the urn burial. Are you there with me? This is called urn burial. Yeah. Yeah, why only in South India? Why not in North India? So this is very peculiar to South India, not to North India, Sham. We have not found any megalithic burials in North India. We'll come to that. So here then we have pit circle grave. You can see here, this is a pit. So when a person died, a pit was dug up. On your screen, you can see this is a pit. So pit was dug up like this, as you can see on the screen. And the body was placed on a wooden board. So this is the wooden board. The body was placed like this in an open pit. And then you have circle of stones arranged. Circle of stones arranged like this. This is called pit circle grave. You can see here, this is a dead body, imagine. This is a dead body. And this is the pit. And these are the stones. See here, you have the pit. This is called pit circle grave. Right? And then we have cyst grave. So this is an enclosed tomb. You have stones like this, and then you have an enclosed tomb like this. So it has got granite slabs. You can see all over this place we find cyst graves. Right? These are called cyst graves. So we have the picture. This came in the newspaper some time back. So I put it here in one of the newspapers. Slab supported dolmens at a place called Hirebenakal in Karnataka on the left bank of the river Tungabhadra. This is the Koppal district of Karnataka. So we have found dolmens here at a place called Hirebenakal. So here, the Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas are said to belong to the late megalithic phase. That is, the megalithic phase was slowly coming to an end. So what is the explanation given by historians as regards the birth of civilization in the Deep South? So what was the reason for the beginning of civilized communities in the Deep South? First of all, people moved from upland river areas to fertile river basins. So they were living in mountainous areas. You can see on your screen, people are living in plateaus like this. They were living here. So they moved to fertile river basins and they took to agriculture. That is number one. Secondly, is the coming of Jain and Buddhist missionaries to spread Buddhism and Jainism. So once the Buddhist and the Jain missionaries came to South India, they brought North Indian material culture to the South. So North Indian material culture was brought to the South. That is the second reason. And the third is Roman contacts. So Romans came to pick up spices and cotton textiles. And the people of the South got exposed to civilized communities because of that reason. So these are the three explanations given. But then again, please understand, there are some places, some sites found, for example, some years back, in Tamil Nadu, we have found a site called Keeladi. In the Shivaganga district of Tamil Nadu, we have found a site called Keeladi. And this is as old as 2,500 years. This is as old as 2,500 years. We have evidence of Tamil Brahmi script. People here use Tamil, but they knew how to read and write. So as early as the 6th century BC. So they knew they knew how to read and write. So they had an advanced civilization. So this opinion given by historians is questioned even now, whether really material culture spread from the north to the south, or whether the south already had a flourishing or a parallel civilization. So until archaeology gives us more evidence, we stick to whatever the historians have told us. But then this particular aspect, whether civilized communities whether civilization spread from the north to south is questionable. It has been questioned by many South Indian historians and archaeologists, whether it's really true, particularly after we have found sites like Keeladi, right? So this is about megalithic cultures. So they are basically sepulchral in nature. Sepulchral means got to do with tomb, the tomb interment. Got to do with tomb, connected with tomb interment. Burial practices. So whatever, so megaliths we have found, mostly they are belonging to the Iron Age. They belong to the Iron Age, and they are largely related to the burial practices. So this is about megalithic culture. Are you clear with me? Are you clear? So see, Brahmi script, Zeba, Gangadhar, we have the Vedic literature which was transmitted orally. In the Vedic period, we have done the Vedic period. So Vedic Aryans had no knowledge of writing. So it was all penned down. Whatever was there in the Vedic literature was penned down around 7th century BC, 700 BC onwards. Right? When the Brahmi script arose, we don't know. But then we know that the Ashokan Brahmi was deciphered by James Prinsep in 1837. So, Zeba, what was contemporary to megalithic culture in North? We just now seen, what was already. So, we have civilization happening faster in North India. 1000 BC onwards, we have the usage of iron, isn't it, Zeba? 1000 BC, that is later Vedic period onwards, we have the coming into knowledge of iron. So Aryans began to use iron, and slowly they began to cut down the forest. They used fire to clear the forest and made it fit for agriculture. We have seen that. And by the 6th century BC, we have slowly cities coming into existence in North India. So already North India had an advanced civilization when compared to the South, right? Right. We'll come back here. Are you there with me, Zeba? Are you clear? Gangadhar, I hope I'm clear. Now, let us come to Sangam literature. So, what is Sangam literature here? So, what is Sangam literature? Now, what is Sangam? Understand this, very simple. What is Sangam? In geography, what is Sangam? When two or more rivers meet, that's called Sangam. So, that point where two or more rivers meet is called Sangam. That is in geography. Sangam of rivers or confluence of rivers. But in history, particularly in the context of South Indian history, it refers to an academy. Sangam means an academy or a parliament of letters. You can call it as a parliament of letters. Parliament of letters. Okay, now look here. Academy or parliament of letters. So you have the Pandyan kingdom. Pandyas. What was the capital of the Pandyas? Madurai. Madurai was the capital of the Pandyas. Madurai was on the banks of the Vaigai river. And in the Pandyan court, you have scholars, poets, literateurs, novelists, prose writers, epic writers, etc. So you have a huge body of literary figures patronized by the Pandyan king. Okay, so at Madurai, this was the capital of the Pandyas. So the body of literature which was culled out, which was brought out by this academy of scholars or a group of scholars is called as Sangam literature. The body of literature which has been compiled, collated, organized by this body of scholars maintained by the Pandya king at Madurai is known as a Sangam literature. Are you there with me? That's called Sangam literature. Sangam means, in the context of South Indian history, academy or parliament of letters. And they wrote on different subjects. Basically, the language was Tamil. Okay. No, it was not. Yeah, you're right, Himani. That has been your doubt has been answered. So Tamil, that's how they use Tamil language. They wrote in Tamil language. And what is the main theme of the Sangam literature? The main theme of the Sangam literature is wars. Wars between the Cholas, Cheras, and the Pandyas. The main theme is wars between the Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas. But they also give us, the Sangam literature also give us information about the polity, society, economy, and religious practices of the Deep South. So how was the polity like, society like, economy like, and religious practices like in the Deep South? Sangam literature is basically divided into two parts. You have an Agam, Aham or Agam, and Puram. Agam means love and the emotional aspects. The emotional aspect is called Agam, and Puram is wars. So Sangam literature is mainly divided into Agam and Puram. So there was an academy of scholars or a parliament of scholars at Madurai under the Pandyan king in his court, and the body of literature which was brought out by them is known as the Sangam literature. The main theme is wars between the Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas, but we also get a lot of information about the Sangam polity, economy, society, and religion. Are you there with me? Now, Sangam literature, so that is called Sangam, as I told you, and whatever information is given by by this academy is substantiated, supported by Greek and Roman accounts as well as archaeology. So, archaeology also supports whatever information we get about the material culture of the Deep South. Now, the Sangam literature is divided into 5 sections. Okay, early works, early books, then 8 anthologies. What is anthology in English? Anthology is a collection of poems. Anthology is collection of poems. So 8 anthologies. In Tamil language, Ettu Togai, Ettu Togai, Ettu Togai. So North Indian students might have a little difficulty in understanding these words. People who are from the South, somewhere these words rhyme with each other. So therefore, they will not have much difficulty. So you just have to try to understand what it is, not Hindi speaking and other language speaking students. So 8 anthologies. So anthology is collection of poems. Ettu Togai. Ettu in Tamil is 8. Okay, so collection of 8 anthologies. Anthology is a collection of poems. 10 short idylls. 10 short poems or idylls. In English, short poems are called idylls. It's not idli, it's idylls. So 10 short poems or idylls. Patta part. Patta is 10 in Tamil. Okay, patta part. Not pattu pattu. It's not pattu pattu. In English, it's called pattu pattu, but it's patta part in Tamil, right? Then we have 18 minor works, 18 small books, in size, in terms of size and content. 18 minor works. Padinen kil kanakku. Padinen kil kanakku. 18 minor works. So Padinent in Tamil is 18. So 18 minor works and 5 epics. So these together are known as Sangam literature. Are you there with me? Right? Yeah. Okay. So why Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas are not succeeded by Mauryas or Satavahanas or any other large kingdom? So we'll come to that, Sham. Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas were supplanted by a group of evil rulers called the Kallapillars or the Kalabhras. So we have in South India, the Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas were supplanted by this group of evil rulers called Kallapillars or Kalabhras, who dominated South India for about 4 centuries, 4.5 centuries, till about the middle of the 7th century AD. And later you have a combination of an alliance of the Chalukyas, the Pallavas, and the Pandyas who overthrew the Kalabhras. And again, we have the Pandyas coming back along with the Cholas. So that is a separate history by itself. It must have taken 100 years to complete all this. No, more than 100 years. So it has taken more than 100 years. Sangam literature means literary works written in the Sangam age. That is true, Shubhankar. You're right. But Sangam literally means an academy or a scholar, academy or a parliament of letters. And the body of literature which was brought out during this period is called Sangam literature. It talks about the material culture of the Deep South, particularly in the kingdoms of Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas. So I have made a chart for our convenience. Look here on your screen, important Sangam books or literature during the Sangam period. Tolkappiyam. Let me finish this chapter and then I'll give you a break. So please hold on. So once I finish this chapter, because I don't want to start from the beginning, in the middle of this chapter. Let me finish. So please have some patience. Another 10 minutes you give me, I'll finish this chapter, and then we can go for a 10-minute break. So what are the important literary works of the Sangam period or Sangam age? So Tolkappiyam, written by Tolkappiyar. This is the earliest text, deals with grammar. So I have put a chart for you, book, author, significance. So this book is the earliest textbook written in the Sangam age. Tolkappiyam, written by Tolkappiyar, deals with grammar. These are all in Tamil language, mind you. All these are in Tamil language. Madurai Kanji, written by Mangudi Marudan. So it describes the port of Kaveri Pattanam. So even now around the region of Kumbakonam, if you go to Tamil Nadu, you have this city called Kaveri Pattanam. Those days called Puhar. So this is the most important source on trade of the Deep South. And it talks about commerce in the Deep South. Madurai Kanji, written by Mangudi Marudan. Then Murugarru Padai. So divide the words into 2 parts or 3 parts. Murugarru Padai. Murugarru Padai, written by Nakkirar. So this is a song in praise of Muruga, Murugan, the most important god of the Deep South. You please understand, Muruga was a god of the Tamils. Later, he became world famous. So Muruga, later he's also called Subramanya, Skanda, and North Indians call it a Kartikeya. So Muruga is a local god of the Tamils, and later we have this Gupta king called Kumaragupta who introduced the worship of Muruga in North India, and he called him as Kartikeya. You see, Shiva has 2 sons according to mythology. Shiva's son is Muruga or Kartikeya, who has a peacock as his vehicle, and then of course you have Ganesh, who has a mouse as his vehicle. So he is the short-tempered son of Shiva, that is Muruga or Kartikeya, head of the Ganas, right? Muruga. So in Tamil Nadu, you have Murugan Idli shop, pretty popular Murugan Idli shop. So Muruga is the most powerful god of the Deep South. Then we have Palamuli, Palamuli by Mundurai Arayyar. So it talks about the day-to-day rituals of Brahmins. Then Thirukkural by Thiruvalluvar. So you have the Prime Minister Modi, who had quoted a few lines from the Thirukkural when the Doklam conflict happened with China. So after that, he had quoted a few lines from the Thirukkural. So Thirukkural is called the Bible of the Sangam literature. This is the most important book of the Sangam literature, the Thirukkural. It is full of proverbs, and the theme is ethics, morals, and values. So we have a place called Valluvar Kottam in Chennai. It's named after the great saint Thiruvalluvar, written by Thirukkural, written by Thiruvalluvar. So these are some of the important books. And then we have the Tamils who had their own epics. The Tamils had their own epics, like Ramayana, Mahabharata, were composed in North India. Ramayana by Valmiki, Ramayana by Vedavyasa. The Tamils had their own epics. First of all, we have this epic called Shilappadigaram. So I might not have a Tamil slang. I'm not a Tamilian, so therefore excuse me, the Tamil-speaking people here. But Chilappadigaram or Shilappadigaram, written by Illango Vadigal. So let me tell you the story of this, because UPSC has asked questions from this area. So just hold on. I'm not telling stories just to entertain you. It is also relevant from the exam point of view. The Shilappadigaram or Padigaram, written by Illango Vadigal. So Shubhankar, that's great. So Shilappadigaram, so written by Illango Vadigal. So what is the story about? Look here. So there was this merchant from Puhar by name Kovalan. So his name was Kovalan. He was a merchant from Kaveri Pattanam, also called Puhar. So he was a pretty prosperous merchant, Kovalan, and his wife was Kannagi. Kannagi was his wife, and they were happily living at Kaveri Pattanam. Kovalan was a merchant and he was doing business, and he was keeping his wife happy until something happened. Kovalan fell in love with a dancer, Devadasi, by name Madhavi. Madhavi. She was a courtesan. Courtesan means Devadasi. Devadasi, a high class prostitute. Devadasis, who are Devadasis? You have girls from certain families who were dedicated to the temple. So the family will cut away relations with her, and she'll be at a young age sent away to the temple to take care of the temple and take care of the god, or, clean the temple, etc. But unfortunately, these Devadasi girls were exploited by the high and the mighty of the villages, like the zamindar and the rich people would exploit her, and she was reduced to almost that of a prostitute, unfortunately. So there was a courtesan. Her name was Madhavi, right? And Kovalan fell in love with her, and he began to neglect his wife Kannagi. He began to neglect his wife Kannagi. So much so that Kovalan began to spend all his money and time with Madhavi, and from Madhavi he got a daughter, Mani Megalai. Mani Mekalai, the heroine of the next epic. The heroine of the next epic. Now, what happened is, Kovalan has had exhausted all his money. So, in return for physical pleasure, sexual pleasure, he has been spending all his money on Madhavi. So much so that Kovalan became Kangal. That is, he lost all his money, right? And Madhavi lost interest in him because he was not spending any money on her. He had no money at all. Whatever jewels he had on his body, ring, no finger rings, necklace, etc., also that he had given away to Madhavi. So Madhavi lost interest in Kovalan, and she kicked him out. So Kovalan came back to Kannagi. So Kovalan comes back to Kannagi, and he seeks her pardon. So Kannagi is the ideal Indian wife, Tamil wife. That's what is the story here. Shila Padikaram. So she excuses her husband. Kannagi excuses her husband, Kovalan, pardons him, and tells her husband, Kovalan, let us get away from this place. Let us get away from Kaveri Pattanam, and we'll start a new life in another place, afresh. So let us start a new life in another place. So they migrate to Madurai. The capital of the Pandyas. So who was the king of the Pandyas? Aryappadai Nedunjaliyan. So his name was Aryappadai Nedunjaliyan. Nedunjaliyan. He was the king of the Pandyas. So they come to Madurai, the capital of the Pandyas. And the king was Aryappadai Nedunjaliyan. Now what happened is, are you following the story here? All of you. Can I go on? Okay, now look here. So what happened is, they come to Madurai, this Kovalan Kannagi, and Kovalan has no money with him. He has lost all his jewels. Whatever jewels he had, he was wearing even on his body. So Kannagi takes out a pair. She has a pair of ankles on her legs, pair of anklets, which she had received from her parents at the time of her marriage with this idiot. So Kannagi had received a pair of anklets from her parents at the time of her marriage with Kovalan. So she removes one of the anklets from her leg, and she hands it over to her husband and tells her husband, Kovalan, you go to the market, you sell this anklet. It is pretty costly. So you'll get a lot of money. You spend on buying provisions, vegetables, cereals, pulses, etc. You buy all that and you bring it home, and then I'll cook a meal. I'll cook a gruel, and we'll have food. So this Kovalan takes one of the anklets of his wife, Kannagi, and he goes into the market of Madurai and is trying to sell it. Now, what would have happened is, unfortunately, around the same time, we have the queen of the Pandyas. The queen of the Pandyas, that is the wife of King Aryappadai Nedunjaliyan, the chief queen. She would have lost her favorite anklet in the palace. So she would have lost her favorite anklet in the palace. She has misplaced it somewhere. And it is presumed that somebody has robbed the queen's anklet. So a picture or a painting of the anklet has been made, and it is distributed to the spies and the soldiers, and they have been ordered by the king to keep a watch in the kingdom, including the market areas where a potential thief might try to sell the queen's anklet. Okay, so these soldiers and the spies have a copy of the queen's anklet. They have a painting or a sketch of the queen's anklet, and they are keeping a watch on a potential thief who might be trying to sell the queen's anklet. And here we see Kovalan holding his wife's anklet and trying to sell it in the market. So one of the spies notices it, and he arrests Kovalan, and Kovalan is brought before the king. The king immediately orders the execution of Kovalan. So Kovalan was immediately executed, thinking that he was the culprit of the queen's anklet. Now Kovalan was killed. Now Kannagi comes to know that her husband had been arrested by the king's soldiers and taken to the palace. So she runs to the palace. He runs to the palace with her another anklet. And then before the king Nedunjalian, Aryapada Nedunjalian, uh, she asks for justice. She shows her other anklet and tells the king, look, this was given by my parents at the time of my marriage. It has no connection with the queen's anklet. Now the king, Aryapada Nedunjalian, notices, he observes the anklet given by Kannagi, and he realizes that he had made a big blunder. All the stone, everything was ditto as the queen's anklet. Everything was just as the same as the queen's anklet, except the color of the stones. Kannagi's anklet had a slightly different color. The stone color was different when compared to the queen's anklet. So Nathan Jillian had made a big mistake. He began to lament. He began to lament. That is, his heart began to burn because he had punished an innocent man, and that innocent man was no more there. He was dead already by his orders. So he begins to lament. We have Kannagi, who is wrath with anger. So she was very, very angry because she had become a widow for nothing. So she's supposed to have torn her breasts. She's supposed to have plucked her breast and torn it and thrown it on the city of Madurai, and she cursed the city of Madurai. So it burned down. The city of Madurai burned down. A king Nedunjalian also died, and this is known as the story called Shila Padigaram, the jeweled anklet, as it is called in English. So what happened ultimately? So ultimately, Kannagi came to be worshipped as the ideal wife. That's called Pattini cult. So Kannagi began to be worshipped as the ideal wife. And the worship of Kannagi as the ideal wife is called Pattini cult, right? Then we have a stone which was brought by the Chera king Senguttuvan. So we have the king of the Cheras called Senguttuvan. He was a Chera king. So he brought a green emerald stone from Sri Lanka, and he got it carved. The image of Kannagi was carved and installed. So we have the famous Bhagavati temple in Tirunananthapuram, Kerala, Trivandrum, where you have the famous Bhagavati festival. Okay, recently it was in the news. So the Bhagavati idol is nothing but the Kannagi's idol, it is said. That's what it is believed. So this is the story of Shila Patigaram written by Illango Vadigal. Are you there with me? Okay, thank you, Abhijit. So here the hero I have mentioned here Illango Vadigal was the grandson of Karikala Chola, and Kovalan was the hero. Kannagi was the heroine, and Pattini cult. Pattini cult is the worship of Kannagi as the ideal wife. That is, agar joru ho to Kannagi ki tarah ho. Okay, agar joru ho to Kannagi ki tarah ho. That is the meaning of Pattini cult. Worship of Kannagi as the ideal wife. So written by Illango Adigal. The second epic is Mani Megalai. Mani Megalai is the daughter born to Kovalan and Madhavi. And this story was written by Sattanar. Sattalai Sattanar. He writes this particular book, epic. So here, Mani Meghalaya grows up to be a very beautiful girl, I believe. So she grows up to be a very beautiful girl, and a prince is behind her. He wants to marry her. His name is Prince Udayakumaran. So he is the villain of this particular epic. So he's pestering her. He wants to marry her. But Mani Meghalaya is not interested in Udayakumaran. But Udayakumaran is persistent. He is, eating her head. I want to marry you. Please agree, etc., etc. Ultimately, she gets so fed up, Mani Meghalaya, that she decides to become a Buddhist monk. So she shaves her head and joins the monastery and becomes a Buddhist monk. So this particular story talks about the spread of Buddhism in the deep south, the spread of Buddhism in the deep south, and also development of fine arts. So I mentioned that here. This is Mani Meghalai story. Then we have another story called Shivaka Chintamani or Jivaka Chintamani, written by Tirutakka Devar. Written by Tirutakka Devar. It talks about the popularity of Jainism in the deep south. So the Shivaka Chintamani is about a hero, a Superman called Jivaka or Shivaga. So Jivaga or Shivaga is very, very strong. He defeats everybody on this earth. Something like Bahubali, Gomateshwara story. So when I come to Jainism and I do art and culture, we'll talk about it. So Shivaga or Jivaga is a very strong man, Superman. So he defeats everybody on this earth. All the kings are defeated, but ultimately there's a void in his heart. Even after defeating everybody, he is not satisfied. Then he realizes all this is useless. All this is momentary, materialistic. So he gives up everything and becomes a Jain monk in the end. He becomes a Jain bhikshu. So it talks about the popularity of Jainism in the deep south. Another epic written by the Tamils is Kuntala Kechi, the Kuntala Kechi, written by Natakutanar. So this is a story of a romance between a boy and a girl. They get married, and then later you have the wife losing interest in the husband, and she has an extramarital affair. And then she kills her husband, and then she again finds religion. That is, she discovers peace in religion. So this is Kuntala Keshi, written by Natakutanar. And of course, we have Valayapati, so written by an unknown Tamil writer. So it talks about, inculcates Jain principles and doctrines. Right? This is the 5 epics written by the Tamils: the Shilapadigaram, the Mani Meghalai, the Shibaka Chintamani, the Valayapati, and the Kuntala Kechi. Right? Right. So then we move on here. So these are the 3 Tamil kingdoms, as you can see on your screen. The 3 Tamil kingdoms, you have the Cholas, the Pandyas, and the Cheras, right? So they ruled the deep south, and we know this. Remember, I told you when I did Bindusar, we have Mauryan chariots racing across the Tamil land, throwing up dust, and their white flags were fluttering on top of their chariots. So the deep south probably acknowledged the overlordship of the Mauryas, but the Mauryas were not able to directly rule over the deep south because of the distance. So they might have been sending tributes to the Mauryas. And even Ashoka mentions the Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas in his major archaic number 2 as well as 13. So the Sangam kingdoms were contemporary with the Mauryan rule, right? We can presume that. So what is the information we get from the Sangam literature about these 3 Tamil kingdoms? What was their polity like, society like, economy like, and religion? You can see here on your screen the Pandyas. We have the Pandyas. So important aspects I've covered here. Pandyas, they had fish. Fish was their emblem, a type of fish called carp. So that was their emblem. So we have the famous Meenakshi temple, isn't it? Meenakshi temple in Madurai Meenakshi. So this is supposedly the fish-eyed goddess. Meen is fish. Akshi is eyes, the fish-eyed goddess. So Parvati is supposed to have taken birth on this earth as a princess, and later Shiva recognized Parvati and married her. So this marriage is supposed to have taken place in that temple, the Meenakshi Sundareshwara temple. So Pandyas, of course, the temple was built much later. We are talking about the Sangam Pandyas, not the later Pandyas. So here we have the Pandyas. Their capital was Madurai on the banks of the Vaigai River. First mentioned by Megasthenes, the Pandyas, and they also traded with Roman Emperor Augustus and Trojan. So we have the Pandyan king sending embassy to Rome, and the Roman Emperor Augustus and Trojan in turn returned that embassy to the Pandyan court. The greatest was Nedunjalian, and of course, this was the king who punished Kovalan and executed him. Aryapadai Kadanta Nedunjalian. So he was the one who was responsible for the execution of Kovalan. And we have Kannagi, Karsing, Madurai, right? So then we have the Cholas. The Cholas, their emblem was the tiger. They had 2 capitals. One was Urayur. Urayur was their first capital, and the second capital was Kaveri Pattanam or Puhar. And Chola kingdom was called Chola Mandalam, famous for cotton trade, Urayur. Ilara was their first king. Okay, he was the first king to conquer Sri Lanka, and the greatest was Karikala. Karikala means the man with the charred leg. Karikala. Kala, his leg had been charred in a war, so it burnt in a war. So he is supposed to be the greatest of the early Chola kings, and he is the one who built a dam on the Kaveri River. This is called Kallanai Dam or the Grand Achkat at Srirangam. So even now, the remnants of this dam is supposed to be existing at Srirangam. It's also called Kallanai Dam or the Grand Achkat at Srirangam. So this was built by Karikala Chola, right? So Ilara was the first Indian king to conquer Sri Lanka. So I mentioned this here. And of course, Cheras, we get similar information about the Cheras. Vanji was their capital. Main port was Muziris. And we have one of their kings, Udayanjara, who is supposed to have fed both the armies of the Kurukshetra war. Pandavas and Kauravas were supposedly fed by him, I believe. But anyway, the greatest was Sengutuvan, and he was the one who began the Pattini cult. That is the worship of Kannagi as the ideal wife, right? Pattini cult, the goddess of chastity. So from the Sangam literature, we come to know about the administration. All the power was in the hands of the king. So king was called by different names: Manna, Vendan, Koravan, Iraven, etc. We have officials like these who supported the king or assisted the king: ministers, Amaichar, Purohit, envoys were the Dutars, that is the messengers. Senapati was called Senapati, or spies were called Orar. Kingdom was divided to provinces called Mandalam, subdivided to districts called Nadu. So it was like this in an arrow mark. You can put it like this, right? So province was were called Mandalam, districts were called Nadu, town was Ur, big village Perur, small village Sirur, like that. Pattinam, Puhar, harbor areas, etc. So the main source of income was the land tax, Karai. Karai was a land tax. Irai were tributes paid by feudatories. Custom duties were called Ulugu. So these are some of the names which might be you might find it difficult. As I told you, make a cue card, 4 into 6 centimeters. Write whatever you need to revise in small letters and keep on looking at them and try to revise them. That is the best way to remember. Warrior, tax collector. You see, in prelims, the answer is on the question paper, isn't it? The answer is on the question paper. You just have to find out which is the right answer. So somewhere it will strike your mind when if you have done the revision and you have read properly, then it will somewhere strike your mind and you'll be able to mark it. So you don't need to mug it up. You just have to remember it, right? And then when you see the question choices given in the question paper, you'll be able to mark it, right? Fine. So Sangam literature. So here from what was the society like? You see, the Sangam people knew about the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. But that's not how the society was divided. It was divided like this: Arasar. So Arasar, Andanar, Vanigar, and Velalars. So Arasar were the ruling class. Andhanar were ministers and in charge of religious affairs. Vanigar in charge of trade and commerce, and agriculturists were the Velalars. So all the important positions, civil and military functions, were in the hands of Velalars. Rich farmers held important civil and military positions in the government. And of course, it was not priest dominated. It was not that the Brahmanas were dominating the society, but slowly they were trying to assert themselves. Right? Status of women, of course, you have inferior status of women compared to men. Untouchability and sati existed. Their chief god was Muruga. And Buddhism and Jainism also slowly had penetrated into the Tamil land, right? So depending upon the fertility and the usage to which the land was put, we have Tolkappiyam, the earliest book which talks about grammar. It divides the Tamil land into 5 parts, five-fold division of lands. This is called Tinai. Tinai is five-fold division of land, along with their occupations and such things. You can see Kurunji. Kurunji is the hilly area. What was the god worshipped by the people of Kurunji who were living in the hilly area? Muruga. Murugan was their chief god. And what was the occupation they were engaging in? Hunting and honey collection. Hunting and honey collection. So UPSC has asked this question, match the following, they can ask you. Mullai, jungle. So they worshipped Mayon or Vishnu, cattle rearing and dairy products. So in the jungle, people will take them for grazing the cattle and obviously dairy products. This Mullai or pastoral area. Marudam, cultivated plains. So they worship Indra and they engage in agriculture. Natal, coast, where they worship Varuna. Fishing and salt manufacturing was their occupation. And Palai, dry land, desert. They worship Durga or Koravai, as she was called. And what was the occupation? Robbery. Because in a desert, you don't have any other source of occupation. The people used to engage in robbery. So these are the various Tinais or division of the Tamil land. and also the occupation and the gods they worshipped. Right, and of course you have tremendous growth of trade during this period. The people of the deep south traded with Roman Empire. You have Romans exported spices from Muziris, that is Kranganur in Kerala. So, and black pepper was called Yavana Priya. Kaveri Pattanam was the most frequently, most frequent port, which was frequented by the Roman ships. So Roman ships frequented that port, and Arikamedu, Pondicherry, was called Poduka by the Greeks. Right. So this is about the Sangam age. Let us look at the questions which have come from this topic. The term Yavana Priya, mentioned in ancient Sanskrit texts, denoted what? Yavana Priya refers to pepper, right? Okay. So Yavana Priya. Then which one of the following was a corporation of merchants in ancient India? So not Chaturvedi Mangalam. Chaturvedi Mangalam is nothing but Agrahara. Chaturvedi Mangalam is where Brahmins were staying. So not Parishad. Parishad is a council, not Ashtadigajas. Ashtadigajas were the 8 eminent literators in the court of Krishnadeva Vijayanagara. Manigrama is the right answer. So this was a corporation of merchants in ancient India. Manigrama, right? Then many of the Greeks, Kushanas and Shakas embraced Buddhism rather than Hinduism because of what reason? So Greeks, Kushanas, Shakas embraced Buddhism rather than Hinduism. The reason is Buddhism provided easier access to Indian society. You see, Lord Buddha, in the Vedic society, in the Vedic religion, moksha, we have done Vedic period, isn't it? In the Vedic religion, moksha was denied to the women and Shudras. Moksha was possible only for the Dvijas. Dvijas are twice born, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, the one who wear the Upanayana, the thread ceremony. So moksha was denied to the women and the Shudras. They were called Ekajas for that reason. We have done that. Dvijas, it was only meant for the Dvijas, Ekajas. Moksha. Moksha meant for the Brahmana, Kshatriya and the Vaishya. Now, Buddha promised Nirvana, that is enlightenment, something like moksha, to everybody, irrespective of sex or varna. Whether you're a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, does not matter. And even the sex doesn't matter. Whether you're a male or a female, doesn't matter. So Nirvana was promised to everybody, including the Shudras as well as the females. So, and there was no problem in Buddhism to accept the foreigners also. So they were the Greeks, Kushanas, Shakas. Many of them married Indian women, and you have the progeny born to these mixed races. Father is a foreigner, mother is an Indian. So the children are of mixed race. So the Vedic religion was made very rigid. The Vedic rules were made in such a manner that outsiders were not allowed into the Vedic society. It was only confined to the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Whereas Buddhism was open-minded. It accepted everybody, including the foreigners and the mixed races. Therefore, Buddhism provided easier access to Indian society, and that is the reason why these Kushanas, Greeks, Shakas embraced Buddhism. Did you understand? Hello? Are you there with me? All clear? Can I move on? Okay. Then we come to what is the correct chronological order in which the following appeared in India? So this is a very tricky question. This was a UPSC question. You look at that question here. What is the correct chronological order in which the following appeared in India? Gold coins. When did gold coins come? Answer this question, please. Yeah, just after this question, after these questions I will give break. Just hold on. Rajneesh. Yeah, Indo-Greeks. So this is Indo-Greeks pre-Maurya period, isn't it? Sorry, post-Maurya period. Post-Maurya period, you have the Indo-Greeks introducing coins. Punchmark silver coins, pre-Maurya period. Pre-Maurya, 6th century BC. Iron plow, when does iron plow come? 1000 BC. Later Vedic period, isn't it? Later Vedic period. Urban culture. Now, this is a very tricky question here. Urban culture, we know Harappan civilization was an urban civilization. But the question is, did the Harappan civilization last? No. Harappan cities collapsed. For various reasons, they collapsed. And for 1000 years, we did not have any cities. And again, cities come into existence in the 6th century BC, isn't it? In the pre-Maurya period. Therefore, the answer is B. Look here on your screen. Iron plow is the first. This is the UPSC answer. This is the official UPSC answer. Iron plows come first, later Vedic period. Then we have urban culture, pre-Maurya period. The age of Mahajanapadas, where the capitals of the Mahajanapadas acted as the principal cities of this period. Then number two, punch mark silver coins, pre-Maurya period. Gold coins, post-Maurya period. So the answer is B. Did you understand? So Harappan civilization had cities. They had an urban culture, but you might have thought D could have been the answer. You could have thought D could have been the answer. If you think that Harappan culture was the first urban culture, therefore let me put that, and the rest is the same: iron plows, punch mark silver coins, and gold coins. But this would be the wrong answer. This would be the right answer, because urban culture did not sustain in the Harappan civilization. It collapsed, and for 1,000 years, we did not have cities in this country, and cities came into existence from the 6th century BC onwards again for the second time. And after that, we have continuously urban culture. Indo-Greek kingdom set up in the north, in North Afghanistan in the beginning of the 2nd century BC is Bactria. We have seen this. Then the practice of military governorship was first introduced in India by whom? By the Greeks. Strategos, military governorships. Who among the following presided over the Buddhist council held during the reign of Kanishka at Kashmir? It was Vasumitra. We have seen this. Vasumitra. And the vice president was Ashwagosha. Then consider the following statements. The last Mauryan ruler, Brihadrata, so this was a UPSC question asked. The last Mauryan ruler, Brihadrata, was assassinated by his commander-in-chief, Pushyamitra Sunga. Yes or no? Yes. The last Sunga king, Devabhuti, was assassinated by his Brahmana minister, Vasudeva Kanva, who usurped the throne. Yes. The last ruler of the Kanva dynasty was deposed by the Andhras. Shatakarni II killed the last Kanva ruler, isn't it? And then ended the Kanva rule. So the answer is 1, 2, 3. What are the correct statements? All the three are correct. Komal, okay. Did you understand this factual question? So until you have read it, you will not be able to answer this question. This was a UPSC question. Then, with reference to the invaders in ancient India, which one of the following is the correct chronological order? So this is again a UPSC question. So here we have the Greeks. Indo-Greeks came first, then the Scythians or the Shakas came second, the Parthians followed suit, and lastly the Kushanas. So the answer is Greeks, Kushanas, Shakas, Kushanas. Greek, Shakas, and Kushanas is the right answer. Shreyas, I told you 90% of the syllabus is contained in my PPTs and the class lecture. So don't miss it, and then read the PPTs. And then you go and read one textbook. That should be sufficient. Ganesh, revise. Starting, it looks like that. It is tough. It is very easy, actually. You go through the PPTs, revise a few times. First revision within 24 hours. Okay, after you learn a topic, first revision within 24 hours. Second revision within 3 days. Within 3 days. Third revision within 7 days. Okay, so within third revision within 1 month. Within 1 month. Within 1 month, you revise third time. So first revision within 24 hours, second revision within 3 days, and the third revision within 7 days. So for you to for short-term memory to be converted to long-term memory. Okay, now look here. Next question. With 2012, they've asked this question. With reference to the guilds of ancient India, Shrenis, that played a very important role in the country's economy, which of the following statements are correct? Every guild was registered with the central authority of the state, and the king was the chief administrative authority over them. This is correct. The wages, rules of work, standards, and prices were fixed by the guild. This is also correct. The guild had judicial powers over its own members. This is also correct. So all the three statements are correct. 1, 2, 3 is correct. I have discussed this. Okay, I have told you. I have discussed this. So this is correct. Then which one of the following books of ancient India has the love story of the son of the founder of the Sunga dynasty? Who was the founder of the Sunga dynasty? Pushyamitra Sunga. And who was the son of Pushyamitra Sunga? Agnimitra. And the story is Malavika Agnimitra. The love story of Malavika and Agnimitra. So this was a 2016 question. Okay, are you there with me? Payal, I suppose after every class, the PPTs are shared with the students. So please see your mail. You should have got it by this time. No? So they will do it. I will remind them, don't worry. You focus on the class now. Focus on the class. You'll get your PPTs, don't worry. Then, which one of the following was a very important seaport in the Kakatiya kingdom? 2017 question. It was Motupalli. I told you Marco Polo. So if we have the greatest of the um, Parthian kings, Gondophanes, during whose period St. Thomas came to India. And St. Thomas was killed and buried in Chennai. Later, we have Marco Polo, who came to India in the 13th century, and he entered India through the Motupalli port. Yesterday's class, remember? And he speaks about Rani Rudrama Devi of the Kakatiyas. So Motupalli was the most important seaport of the Kakatiyas. Which of the following Chola kings was first to conquer Sri Lanka? Elara. We have done this. Elara was the first king, Chola king to conquer Sri Lanka. In the context of Indian history, Muziris was what? It was a port city. Muziris was a port city, not coin, not pottery, not painting. Cranganore near Cochin. No, Muziris was Cranganore near Cochin in Kerala. Okay, so this is a so then we have okay. I've given the explanation here for Port City, Muziris. Then we have the Kiladis. You see here on your screen. This is the site of Kiladi, which was discovered about a year back. It was in the news. So I have added this from current affairs section. So Kiladi is in the Sivaganga district of Tamil Nadu. It is as old as 2,500 years, old. We have a civilization which was discovered here. You can see here pictures which show that textile industry was a thriving industry at Kiladi. So according to the Archaeological Survey of India and the State Department of Archaeology of Tamil Nadu, large brick structures have been found here. So we have evidence of thriving textile industry here. So people knew many things here. We come to know about literacy. Evidence of Tamil Brahmi script comes from here. Okay, so people knew how to write and read in Kiladi. So we have evidence of they using iron implements, pottery. We have also come to know about urn burials, and of course seals. So all the aspects of a civilization are found at Kiladi. So go through this note, and you will understand. So this is the end of this chapter. We'll take a small break, 10 minutes break. We take and we come back and do Gupta period. Okay, so Gupta period, we'll talk about it. Very interesting. You take a 10 minutes break, and I'll come back. Good morning once again. Can we continue? Hello, am I audible and visible? Okay, thank you. Now we looked at the pre-Maurya, we looked at the post-Maurya period, isn't it? So I gave you an overview of post-Maurya period. Um, if we use you students, please study this way regarding post-Maurya period. Who are the indigenous successors of the Mauryas? After the Mauryas, we have the Sungas, Kanvas, Shatavahanas succeeding the Mauryas. Then we looked at the foreign tribes who came to India. That is the Bactrian Greeks, the Shakas or Scythians, the Parthians, and the Kushanas. Right? And of course, then we read the trade aspect of this particular period. Why it's called Mercantile Age of India, various items of exports, which countries India traded with, etc., etc. Then we came to megalithic culture and Sangam age. Right? This was your post-Maurya period. And important aspects of this particular period we have discussed. Now let us come to the Gupta period. UPSC last year in the mains asked one question. It was mixed with Chola period actually. They asked exactly the wording. I'm not able to remember. They asked the contribution of the Gupta and the Chola period to Indian heritage and culture. In the mains, they asked this question. A 250-word answer. Contribution of the Gupta and the Chola period to the development of Indian art and heritage, Indian culture and heritage. That's what they asked. So let's talk about the Gupta period. Very interesting. Do you know any idea? Do you have any idea about this Gupta period? Who are these Guptas? What are the highlights of this period? Hello, all of you. Anybody? No. So Dipendra says Samudragupta, Chandragupta, Zeba says feudatories. Okay. Anybody else? Samudragupta, Napoleon of India. Okay. Ram Gupta, they rule over Delhi. Maximum number of gold coins issued in this period. Very good, Ayush. Kumar Gupta. Yasin, I'll give you the email address at the end of my class. Just hold on. Gupta age is known as Golden Age. So, any doubts you have regarding the subject, please mail me. If you want clarifications from me, directly mail me. Okay, here and there, I might have gone a little fast. I will acknowledge that. But then, wherever it is factual, I have gone fast. Okay, so please bear that in mind. And also, as you see, the syllabus is vast. So, I'm trying to cover as broadly as possible. Okay, so okay, Allahabad pillar. Okay, different types of coins introduced, Sanskrit poems. Okay, you know something about the Gupta period. Now, understand this. If you write whatever I'm telling you, that is the answer for that UPSC question. If you write whatever I'm telling you, that is the answer to the UPSC question. So they have divided that question into two parts, highlights Gupta period and Chola period. When I come to Cholas, we'll talk about Cholas. We'll talk about Guptas now. Now, Guptas brought most of North India under their control. Okay, Guptas brought most of North India under their control. They ruled from 275 AD to approximately 550 AD. Right? Now, political history, we will talk about it later. Who are the important Guptas? Who was the founder? Who was the greatest? All those things, who was the last king? All those things are factual information. We will talk about it. But what are the highlights of the Gupta period? What are the highlights of the Gupta period? Now, first of all, a Gupta period witnessed remarkable progress and development in certain areas. Firstly, we have remarkable progress in literature, particularly Sanskrit literature. Okay, this was the golden age of Sanskrit literature. Golden age of Sanskrit literature. We have great Sanskrit scholars like Kalidasa, Varahamihira, Brahmagupta, Betara Bhatta, Shanku, Ghatakarpaka, Kshipanaka. So great literators were there in the Gupta period. So this is the golden age of Sanskrit literature. Golden age of Sanskrit literature. Okay, then of course we have great developments in the Gupta period in the field of science and technology. science and technology. This was the period when we have people like Aryabhatta, Varahamihira, Brahmagupta operating. So Varahamihira is called the father of algebra. He was the one who gave zero. The concept of zero was given by him. He's called the father of what algebra. He was the one who calculated the circumference of the earth, which is near to the modern estimation. Whatever is the circumference of the earth, he calculated that during those days, and it is very near to the modern calculation. He was the one who said that the earth rotates on its axis, and then that the earth rotates around the sun. So he spoke about the heliocentric theory much earlier than anybody. Heliocentric theory is the planets revolve around the sun, as you know. Till then, we had the geocentric theory that the earth is the center of the universe. So Aryabhatta is also the person who gave the calculation of pi, right? So he was a great genius. Then Varahamihira was another scholar. Then Brahmagupta, he anticipated Newton. He talks about the theory of gravitation. In other words, Newton is known for gravitation, but then Newton comes much later. Brahmagupta said that it is the nature of the earth to attract and keep things to itself. So in other words, he was talking about gravitation indirectly. So this is a great developments in science and technology, including okay. Then we have Gupta period witnessing great progress in metallurgy. The great progress in metallurgy. The best quality iron and the best quality copper belongs to the Gupta period. And what is the example we have? The Mehroli iron pillar at Delhi in the Qutub Minar complex. In the Qutub complex at Delhi, we have the Mehroli. We have an area in Delhi called Mehroli, as you all know. And there we have an iron pillar standing. It belongs to the Gupta period. 99.7% iron, pure wrought iron. Nobody has been able to make a better iron even now than the Guptas. So the best quality iron and the best quality copper belongs to the Gupta period. Copper, we have a 7 feet tall statue of the Buddha made in copper. It was found at Sultanganj in Bihar, and the British took it to Birmingham Museum, and they have kept it in a museum there in Birmingham in England. So the best quality iron and the best quality copper belong to the Gupta period. Fourthly, we have three forms of temple architecture which came into existence during the Gupta period. Three forms of temple architecture. So you see, this is India. Don't take my map seriously. I've always told you I'm not good at drawing maps. So this is India. Let's say. So we have North Indian type of temple building called Nagara. So North Indian style of temple building is called Nagara. When I do art and architecture, we'll discuss that. So Nagara style of temple building. South Indian style is called Dravida. And a combination of North Indian Nagara and South Indian Dravida is called Vesara. Vesara is also called mule. What's a mule? It's a cross between a horse and a donkey. A cross between a horse and a donkey is called mule. So Vesara style is called mule style. It is a combination of North Indian Nagara and South Indian Dravida. So three forms of temple architecture came into existence during the Gupta period. And we have the gradual evolution of temples. That is, the gradual evolution of structural temples also happened during the Gupta period. Gradual evolution of structural temples. And temples came to be built in the Panchayatana style. You see, early temples were found inside caves. They're called cave temples. Now, what we notice, you see here on your screen. So let us say, what is Panchayatana style? Let's say you go to a Shiva temple. Okay, so this is a Shiva temple. Okay, imagine this is the Garbhagriha. Garbhagriha is a sanctorum in English. It's called sanctum sanctorum. Let's say this is the Shiva Linga. This is the main door of the Garbhagriha. And in North India, we will look at the various aspects of a temple later, various parts of a temple. So around the Garbhagriha, this is the Garbhagriha. So this is the spire on top of the temple. The spire curves to a point at the top like this, and there's one fluted disc called Amalaka there. Now, around the main shrine, we find subsidiary shrines like this. You see here, there are 4 subsidiary shrines like this in the 4 corners, like this, okay, all under the same roof. For example, this could be a small cell or a room for the consort of Shiva. So let's say this is Shiva temple. I told you this is Shiva temple. There's Shiva Linga here. So this is Shiva's wife or consort. She could be called by different names. For example, in no, she could be called uh, Parvati or any other name. Like for example, in Madurai, she's called Meenakshi, and Shiva is called Sundareshwara. So in North Indian temples, we see the Garbhagriha, the main shrine, around which there are 4 subsidiary shrines. So you have a small cell for Parvati, the consort of Shiva. This could be a small cell for Ganesh. Okay, this could be a small cell for Hanuman, let us say. And this is the Namagrahas, the 9 planets, Namagrahas. So around the main shrine, we have 4 subsidiary shrines all under the same roof. So such type of temple building is called Panchayatana style. Panchayatana style of temple building, which evolved during the Gupta period. So slowly it evolved, cave temples, slowly we have the coming into existence of freestanding structural temples. So 3 forms of temple building happened during the Gupta period, and such type of temple building is called Panchayatana style, right? So 3 forms of temple building happened during this period. Then you see Buddhism spread from India into China during this period. Buddhism, particularly Mahayana form of Buddhism, spread from India to China, and from China it spread to other parts of the world, particularly the Far East, like Korea, Japan. So we have a number of Buddhist scholars like Bodhidharma, Paramartha, Buddha Yashas, Dharma Yashas. So these are the great Buddhist scholars from India who went from India to China to spread or propagate Buddhism there, the Mahayana form of Buddhism. And from China, it spread to other parts of the world. So Buddhism actually became a world religion during this period. Sixth one, the Nalanda University was built during the Gupta period by Kumaragupta. So Kumaragupta built the Nalanda Vishwavidyalaya or university, right? And Fahian, the first Chinese traveler to come to India, was Fahian during the Gupta period. So Fahian visited India during the period of Chandragupta II, Vikramaditya, though he doesn't make a mention of the name of the king. He doesn't mention the name of the king, Fahian, first Chinese traveler to come to India. So, so these are pretty much the highlights of the Gupta period. Okay, golden age of Sanskrit literature. We have, of course, one more thing: the Sarnath School of Buddhist art. Sarnath, the school of Buddhist art, belongs to the Gupta period. Then one more thing is you can mention Ajanta. So some of the caves at Ajanta in Maharashtra belong to the Gupta period. Many of the caves belong to the Gupta period, including Bagh in Madhya Pradesh, and and Sittanavasal in the Pudukottai district of Tamil Nadu. So these are some of the caves which belong to the Gupta period. So Guptas were Vishnu worshippers. They were Vishnu worshippers. One more point you can mention is, I'll write here. So here you can mention number 10th point you can mention is you have Vaishnavism becoming very, very popular during this period, and Bhagavatism was absorbed by Vaishnavism. Bhagavatism is the worship of Krishna. So Bhagavatism was completely absorbed by Vaishnavism, and Vaishnavism becomes the main religion. In fact, the Guptas had Varaha. Varaha is the boar incarnation of Vishnu, has their symbol, or Lanchana. Lanchana is symbol, emblem, royal emblem. So that was their emblem, the Guptas. And we have the Dashavatara concept coming into existence during this period. That is 10 avatars. 10 avatara concept, avatara. So 10 avatars or Dashavatara concept comes into existence during the Gupta period. And you see all the sects within Hinduism either joined Shaivism or Vaishnavism. So Hinduism got divided into 2 major sects, Shaivism and Vaishnavism during this period. So we have two major sects, Shaivism and Vaishnavism, and 10 avatars of Vishnu like Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narsimha, Vamana, Parashurama, Rama, Krishna, Buddha, Kalki. These are the 10 famous avatars of Vishnu. So avatara concept comes into existence during this period, right? So yeah, this is a pretty much the highlights of the Gupta period. If you write this, this is your answer for the UPSC mains question, whatever they had asked. Are you there with me? All of you clear? Can I move on? Can I start this topic? Now, so here, yeah, but two main sects were Shaivism and Vaishnavism. Shakta cult also happened around the same time, Rajneesh. The Shakta cult, worship of Shakti, goddess, also happened during the around the same time. No, it will be continued. It's not the last class for ancient India, Dipesh. Now we'll come back here. Now as you see, we don't know who these Guptas were. Who were these Guptas? We are not very clear about the origin of the Guptas. Some say that they were feudatories, but under whom they were feudatories, we don't know. But generally, it is believed that on the ruins of the Kushana kingdom, arose the Guptas. On the ruins of the Kushana kingdom, we have the Guptas emerging. And they brought most of North India under their control, the Guptas. Initially, the Guptas ruled from Prayaga. So Prayag was their initial capital. Later, they ruled from Pataliputra. So Prayag was their initial capital. They ruled as feudatories of the Kushanas. And later, they declared themselves independent and ruled from Pataliputra. You see, we have a number of information. We have a large number of information for the study of the Guptas. We have literary sources. We have archaeological sources. So archaeological sources are there for the study of the Guptas. And among archaeological sources, we have inscriptions. And inscriptions are divided into two parts. We have eulogy. Understand this? Eulogy. In Sanskrit, it's called prashasti. Prashasti or eulogy. And then we have land charters or land grants or land charters. Now, what is the meaning of feudatory? Is Samanta. Samant is feudatory, under whom you have delegation of powers made by the king to an officer below him, along with certain territory. So that territory, he has to maintain law and order in that area, collect land revenue. I'll come to that, don't worry, feudatories. So here, inscriptions are divided into eulogies and land charters. What are eulogies? Eulogy or prashasti. Prashasti means it only praises the king. It doesn't criticize the king, it only praises the king. For example, Allahabad Prashasti of Samudragupta, right? Aihole Prashasti of Ravi Kirti. So they are all prashastis praising the king. Land charters. What are land charters? You see, the king has donated a land or gifted a village to somebody. That has been mentioned on a copper plate, on a piece of copper plate, or on a stone. It has been mentioned. That's called land charters or dana shasanas. Dana shasanas. They're called land charters. Did you understand? So we have literary sources are there. Then we have archaeological sources for the study of the Guptas. We have numismatics. Numismatics is coins. Numismatics. So Guptas issued the largest number of gold coins. They issued the largest number of gold coins. So the first to issue gold coins were the Indo-Greeks, on a large scale Kushans, and the largest scale Guptas. So gold coins, silver coins, So also give us a lot of information about the Guptas. And of course, we have Fahian. We have a Chinese traveler called Fahian who came to India during the Gupta period. So Fahian also throws some light on the socio-economic aspects of the Gupta period. He came predominantly to collect Buddhist manuscripts, visit the land of the Buddha, original land of the Buddha, and collect Buddhist manuscripts. But Fahian also talks about some aspects of society, economy of the Gupta period, right? So these are the various sources for the study of the Guptas. Are you there with me? So we have, apart from stones, yeah, land charters on copper plates. They're called Tamra Shasanas. They're called Zeba. They're called Tamra Shasanas. Apart from a stone, you have land charters also recorded on copper plates. Copper is Tamra. They're called Tamra Shasanas. Can I move on? Are you clear with me, all of you? Please raise your hands. Your question is not very clear, Yasin. Is North communities with South Indian? I didn't understand. Okay, now look here. Look at the page in front of you. Yeah, Yasmin, gold coins. Gold coins, largest were issued by the Guptas. First to issue were the Indo-Greeks. Then on a large scale, it was the Kushanas. Largest scale Guptas. Now look here on your screen. We have a number of literary sources for the study of the Guptas. First of all, we have Kamandaka's Niti Sara, which talks about Gupta administration. So we have an author called Kamandaka. Look at the chart there. Author, name of the book, information. Kamandaka writes a book called Niti Sara. Niti Sara is considered to be the Gupta equivalent of Kautilya's Arthashastra. So this Niti Sara is the Gupta equivalent of Kautilya's Arthashastra. Just as the Arthashastra guided the Mauryan kings, the Nitisara, written by Kamandaka, guided the Gupta kings. It was a guidebook for the Gupta kings, the Nitisara, written by Kamandaka. Are you there with me? Dipesh, it was the Guptas. Gupta coinage was the purest, and nobody was able to replicate the Guptas even after that, or even before that. Okay. Then we have Vajjika's Kaumudi Mahotsava. So try to pronounce along with me. Kaumudi Mahotsava. Vajjika writes a book called Kaumudi Mahotsava. It talks about the coronation of Chandragupta the First. The coronation of Chandragupta the First, the day he came to power and ascended the throne. That's called coronation, as you know. Then we have another book, Shudraka's Mrichakatika, the little clay cart. Mrichakatika, little clay cart. In English, little clay cart. It talks about the society of the Mauryan period. It talks about the society of the Gupta period. It talks about the society of the Gupta period. So here the story is about a pious Brahmin called Charudatta. So Charudatta, a pious Brahmin, falls in love with a Devadasi, a courtesan called Vasanta Sena, a prostitute called Vasanta Sena. So here it talks about the society of the Gupta period. Courtesan means Devadasi. Okay, then we come to Vishakadatta. Vishakadatta, we spoke about Vishakadatta's Mudra Rakshasa, isn't it? Which talks about the Mauryan revolution, how Chanakya was insulted by Dhanananda and how he resolved to put an end to the Nandas. He joined hands with Chandragupta Maurya and both of them plotted the decline of the end of the Nandas. That is called Mudra Rakshasa, written by Vishakadatta. Vishakadatta, who belonged to the Gupta period, also wrote another book, Devi Chandraguptam. Devi Chandraguptam. He talks about the circumstances which brought King Chandragupta II to power. So I'll tell you the story, very interesting story, Devi Chandraguptam, written by Vishakadatta. Marriage of Chandragupta II with Dhruva Devi, his sister-in-law. So we'll talk about it. Then Somadeva writes a book called Katha Sarita Sagara. Katha Sarit Sagara, spread of Indian culture to Southeast Asian countries. Talks about spread of Indian culture to Southeast Asian countries. Sham, these are all in Sanskrit language, and Sanskrit is alien to us. It's not that it is tough. It is just that Sanskrit usage has come down drastically. Otherwise, it would have been easy to remember. Revise, please revise, right? And then you'll understand. Then we have Puranas, which talk about the genealogy of the Guptas. Genealogy is the family tree, who was the founder, who was the first important king, second, third, fourth, etc. So Puranas give us a genealogy of the Guptas. Then along with that, we have, of course, Fahian. You see here on your screen, this is Fahian. Fahian to the left of your screen. So Fahian was the first Chinese traveler to come to India. So question is, why did he come? He wanted to visit the homeland of the Buddha, that is India. And of course, those days, Nepal was also part of India, isn't it? So therefore, I said India. Otherwise, Lumbini is now in Nepal. Nepal has become a separate country. Now, he wanted to visit the land of the Buddha and collect Buddhist manuscripts, because whatever he had read about Lord Buddha and Buddhism was through interpreted books, and he did not want to read interpreted books. He wanted to know originally from the original sources. So he visited India. He collected Buddhist manuscripts. He learned Sanskrit. Very interestingly, he learned Sanskrit. And Fahian took the land route. So you can see on your screen, to the right of your screen, there's a map. So he took the land route, and he passed all these areas, Pamir Mountains, Taklamakan Desert, Gobi Desert, and then he comes to Khotan, and then he comes to India. All right. So he visited the holy places connected with Buddha, like Lumbini, right, Shravasti, Kapilavastu, Mathura, Kanauj. He visited all these places, and he doesn't mention the name of the king during whose period he came. But then he is the first foreigner to talk about untouchability. He talks about the socio-economic, religious disabilities imposed on the untouchable class. So he talks about it. So he came to India. He stayed for 15 years in this country, and then he went back by the sea route. You can see the map here on your screen. So he took a ship from Tamluk in Bengal. Then he goes to Sri Lanka. And from Sri Lanka he went to Palembang, Indonesia, then Palembang in Malaysia, and from Malaysia he goes back to China. So this was a route taken by Fahian. He came by the land route and went back to China by the sea route, right? Fahian. So he stayed for 15 years in this country, and 399 to 414 AD. And I have made a note here. So he visited all these places: Peshawar, which is now in Pakistan, Mathura, Kanauj, Shravasti, etc. And he says that in Gangetic Valley, Ganga Yamuna Doab, it was a land of Brahmanism. Buddhism was strong only in the northwest portions of India, but in the Gangetic Valley, it was Brahmanism which was strong. And he also says that Kapilavastu and Kushinagara, even those places, Kapilavastu and Kushinagara, Buddhism had become weak. So this is what Fahian tells us. So that is another source of information. And we have inscriptions which give information about the Guptas. There are 42 inscriptions which have been found till now. Among these inscriptions, some are eulogies or prashasti. Prashasti means which only praises the king. It only praises the king. Okay, that's called prashasti in English. It's called eulogy, and or land charters, dana shasanas. So let us look at the important inscriptions. We have Samudragupta's inscriptions. On your screen, I put a chart for you. It becomes easy to remember that way. So you see, these are the inscriptions of Samudragupta. Allahabad Prashasti. You remember this? I told you the story. There was an Ashokan pillar at Kaushambi, and Ashoka had got something written on this pillar, and there was some space. So we have a minister under Samudragupta. Samudragupta is considered to be the greatest of the Guptas. So he had a minister called Harisena. Harisena was the Mahadandanayaka, that is Chief Justice, Sandhi Vigrahaka. Sandhi Vigrahaka means Minister of War and Peace. So he held a high position in the court of Chandragupta Maurya. Sorry, he held a high position in the court of Samudragupta, this Harisena. So Harisena wanted to highlight the military achievements of Samudragupta. Samudragupta was a great warrior, I believe. He conquered the whole of India. So those military achievements of Samudragupta were inscribed on this Ashokan pillar, which was standing at Kaushambi. Later, this pillar was shifted from Kaushambi to Allahabad. By whom? By whom? Who shifted the Ashokan pillar from Kaushambi to Allahabad? Students? Jahangir, very good. Ayush, Sahil, Jahangir. So now it is at Allahabad, which is now called renamed Prayagraj. So Allahabad Prashasti. This is a Prashasti. Prashasti means it only praises the king. So, right? So we come to know the military achievements of Samudragupta from the Allahabad Prashasti. Then we have the Iran Prashasti. So Iran is in Madhya Pradesh. Notice the spelling of Iran, E-R-A-N, Iran. So this is again talking about the conquest of Samudragupta. Then Nalanda copper inscription found in Bihar. So here, this is a land charter. You see, Samudragupta donated a village to a Brahmin. So on your screen, look here. You have a Brahmana. So Brahmin was gifted a land, gifted a village by Samudragupta. So whatever Samudragupta gifted a village to this Brahmin, and whatever are the proceeds from this village, whatever is grown in that village, everything will go to that Brahmin, right? That's what the order he passed. So in this particular land charter, copper plate inscription, we find the word Agrahara used for the first time. Agrahara. So land charter speaks about a village endowed by Samudragupta, that is gifted by Samudragupta to a Brahmin. And in this Nalanda copper plate inscription, we have the reference to the word Agrahara. If you remember, before the break I spoke about Shatavahanas. Shatavahanas were the first to make land grants, tax-free land grants to Brahmanas and Buddhist monks. But nowhere do they mention the word Agrahara or Brahmadeya. We come across the word Agrahara for the first time in the Nalanda copper plate inscription of Samudragupta. Are you clear with me? Yeah? Are you clear with me? So we hear of the word Agrahara for the first time here. Then we have the Gaya copper plate inscription. Gaya in Bihar, Bodh Gaya as it is called now. Then it tells us that a vihara was built by the king of Sri Lanka by name Mahameghavarma. So there was a king of Sri Lanka. You see here, there was a king called King of Sri Lanka. His name was Mahameghavarma. So he built a vihara. What's a vihara? A vihara is a monastery where monks can go and take rest. So where did this king of Sri Lanka build a vihara? In Nalanda. In Gaya. So he built a vihara at Gaya. Why did he build a vihara at Gaya? When Sri Lankan monks come to India, why would they want to come to India? Because India is the place of Buddha, Lord Buddha. So Sri Lanka was a Buddhist country. A lot of people were following Buddhism in Sri Lanka. So when they come to India, to Gaya, they need some boarding and lodging facilities. Those days, there were no hotels like the way we have nowadays. So Sri Lankan tourists, Buddhist pilgrims, when they come to Gaya, they will require some place to live. So a vihara was constructed by the king of Sri Lanka, Mahameghavarma, at Gaya. And Mahameghavarma, the king of Sri Lanka, requested Samudragupta, please grant a village for the maintenance of that vihara. So when pilgrims come from Sri Lanka to Gaya and they are staying in that vihara, they require food, water, and other basic necessities, food, clothing, water. So from that village, whatever is cultivated or grown will go towards the maintenance of that vihara. Did you understand? This is what is mentioned in the Gaya copper plate inscription of Samudragupta. Are you there with me? Karavela, 2nd century BC, Ashish Kumar. We come back here. Are you clear with me? Hello? Okay. Okay, great. So this is the inscriptions of Samudragupta. So you can see here, this is the Ashoka pillar inscription at Prayagraj, Allahabad. Then we come to Meheroli iron pillar inscription of Chandragupta II. You see here on your screen, this is the Meheroli iron pillar inscription of Chandragupta II. So this is an iron pillar belonging to the period of Chandragupta II. This is at Delhi in the Qutub Minar complex. And this pillar is made of iron. It is more than 1,600 years old. What is the weight of this pillar? It is 6 tons, that is 6,000 kgs. 6,000 kgs, 23 feet in height. 23 feet in height. And on top of this pillar, it is made of pure iron. I have put the composition here. 99.7% iron, very low sulfur content. So very low sulfur content and very high phosphorus content. Okay, phosphorus content. Now, on top of this pillar, we have the name of a king called Chanda. On this iron pillar, we have a name called Chanda mentioned. And historians believe this Chanda was none other than Chandragupta II Vikramaditya. They believe he is none other than Chandragupta II Vikramaditya. Okay, they talk about Chandragupta II Vikramaditya. So this Chanda is none other than that. And there is a story around this pillar. I'll tell you this story when I come to medieval India, as to how the name Delhi has come about. So there's a story surrounding this iron pillar, as to how the name Delhi has come about. So we will talk about it when I do medieval India, early medieval India, right? So this belongs to the period of Chandragupta II Vikramaditya, and there's a 11th century inscription on top of this pillar, which says that Anandpal Tomar established Delhi. So we have the Tomara dynasty. Tomars or Tomaras ruled from 8th century onwards till about that 11th century. And Anandpal Tomar, one of their kings. So it says, this inscription on this iron pillar says that he was the one who established Delhi. In those days, it was called Dhillikapuram, which later became Delhi. So this is the information we get from the Mehroli iron pillar inscription of Chandragupta II Vikramaditya. Why the iron pillar was not rusting? That talks about the ingenuity of the iron casters, Hemalata. The way it has been made, it has left the pillar without any rust, right? Then we have the Skandagupta's inscription. Skandagupta's inscription, he issued 2 inscriptions. One is the Junagadh inscription. Junagadh inscription, we have mentioned about it. It was originally issued by Rudradaman, the Shaka king, Rudradaman, which talks about the history of the Sudarshana Lake. So in the Junagadh inscription, we are also told that Skandagupta's governor of Junagadh, by name Suvishka, got the Chakrapalita. Skandagupta's governor of Junagadh, by name Chakrapalita, got the Sudarshana Lake repaired. So he got the Sudarshana Lake repaired. That's what Junagadh inscription tells us. Then we have the Bitari inscription. Bitari inscription, again belonging to Skandagupta's period. It talks about his wars with the Hunas. You see, we have one of the reasons for the decline of the Guptas is the attack of the Huns or the Hunas. So we have the white Huns. So there were 2 branches, the black Huns and the white Huns. White Huns are called epithelites. So these white Huns began to attack the Gupta empire from the time of Kumar Gupta, right? And after Skandagupta, it continued. Skandagupta was able to defeat the Huns, but after Skandagupta, we have weak successors. And one of the reasons for the decline of the Guptas is this, that the later Guptas were not able to fight off the Hunas or the Huns. They were from Central Asia, the Hunas. So Bitari inscription talks about Skandagupta defeating the Huns, and he established a victory pillar, a Jayastamba at Bitari in Madhya Pradesh. So it talks about that. Then we have Pune copper plate inscription of Prabhavati Gupta. So Pune copper plate inscription, obviously found at Pune or Pune in Maharashtra. And Prabhavati Gupta was one of the daughters of Chandragupta II. And this inscription is in the form of a land charter, Dana Shasana. It talks about the land survey system during the Gupta period, how the lands were surveyed, measured, etc. Different types of lands depending upon its fertility and the usage it was put to. So these details are there in the Pune copper plate inscription of Prabhavati Gupta. And lastly, we have the Iran inscription of Bhanu Gupta, dated 510 AD. And in this inscription, we come to know about the practice of sati. This is the first inscriptional evidence of the practice of sati. So, what is sati? You know what's a sati. So, many of you might not know, but sati is where the widow is supposed to die along with the dead husband in his funeral pyre. The husband has died; he is being burnt in the funeral pyre, and the widow is also supposed to die along with him. Yeah. So I have answered that question, Hemalatta, that talks about the purity of the iron and the way it was made. So therefore, there is no trace of any rust even now. Then we come to the Mandsaur inscription of Yashovarman. So Mandsaur inscription, who was this Yashovarman? Yashovarman is supposed to have succeeded the Guptas. He ruled the area where the Guptas were ruling. And Yashovarman tells us that he defeated the Guptas, right? In the Mandsaur inscription. Mandsaur is a place in Madhya Pradesh, right? Then we have numismatic sources. These are the inscriptional sources for the study of the Guptas. Then we have numismatic sources, that is coins. So Guptas issued a number of coins, both gold and silver coins. Gold coins are called dinars. Now please understand this. Anjali, just focus on whatever I'm doing in the class. This is the most important aspect of the syllabus which I'm doing. Okay, unimportant things I would obviously not do. So just focus on the important aspects, right? And when you read your textbook and you find something important which I might have missed, you mark it, write it down, note it down, write it down, highlight it in the textbook, and revise that. Okay, so that would be a supplement to the PPTs as well as the classroom lecture. Okay, now look here. Please understand this. The Kushanas, I told you, the Kushans also issued gold coins. And Kushana gold coins were modeled on the Roman gold coins. Roman gold coins are called denarius. Denarius. So Roman gold coins are called denarius. So the Kushana kings copied the Roman gold coins, and the Guptas copied the Kushana gold coins. Understand this. The Guptas copied the Kushana gold coins, and therefore Gupta coins indirectly mimic the Roman gold coins. Did you understand? Gupta gold coins indirectly mimic or imitate the Roman gold coins, right? So please keep that in mind. Gupta gold coins are called dinars after the Roman denarius. But then the Guptas did not directly copy it from the Roman gold coins. They copied it from the Kushana gold coins, right? Did you understand? Sham, I'll answer your questions. Don't worry. We'll do the political history later. Bitari is in UP. As far as my knowledge goes, it is in MP, Madhya Pradesh. So let me clarify that in the next class, Satyam. Just hold on. Bitari is, as according to me, it is in Madhya Pradesh. So we'll come back here. Did you understand whatever I just now told you? Gupta coins mimic the Roman gold coins indirectly, though. Then, of course, silver coins are called rupayas, silver coins. Then Fahian tells us that common people used shells, cowries. He says that they used cowries. Cowries are seashells as medium of exchange. So that from that we can presume that everybody was not using gold coins. Only the rich people used gold coins as a medium of exchange, not the poor people. Poor people might be using cowries or shells. Then we have the Chandragupta Kumaradevi type of gold coin. You can see on your screen, you can see a gold coin here. This gold coin was issued by Samudragupta. And on this gold coin, we see the figure of two people. One is Chandragupta the first. This is Chandragupta the first. Chandragupta the first. Okay, Chandragupta the first. And the other is Kumara Devi. I'll write it in yellow color. So Chandragupta the first. Chandragupta the first. And the other is Kumara Devi. So there's a Queen Kumara Devi. So Chandragupta married Kumara Devi. We'll come to the political history in some time. Just hold on. So Kumara Devi and Chandragupta were husband and wife. And the son born to them is Samudragupta. So Samudragupta issued the Chandragupta Kumara Devi type of gold coins. Okay, you can see here. The Chandragupta Kumara Devi type of gold coins. So, however, minting of royal women on coins was a rarity. Royal women would not be minted on gold coins. But then this is a rarity. But anyway, that is another source of information for the study of the Guptas. The Chandragupta Kumara Devi type of gold coins. Then we come to Samudragupta. Samudragupta issued 8 type of gold coins. Maximum gold coins were issued by him. He issued 8 kinds of gold coins. Right? Now look at the gold coins issued by Samudragupta. So we have two sides to a coin. We have the obverse side, obverse and reverse side. So every coin has two sides. So on one side we have the title of Samudragupta, and the another side we have the figure what he is doing on that coin. For example, Samudragupta is shown playing the lute. Lute is a veena-like instrument. So he's shown playing the lute, and the corresponding title of Samudragupta on the other side of the coin is Kaviraja. He's called Kaviraja for that reason. On one gold coin, we have found him performing Ashwamedha sacrifice. So he's doing Ashwamedha sacrifice, and another side of the coin, we get the title, corresponding title, Ashwamedha Parakrama. Ashwamedha Parakrama. Then another coin, hunting a tiger. He's seen hunting a tiger, and the equivalent title, Vyagra Parakrama. In Sanskrit, Vyagra means tiger. Tiger. So he's shown hunting a tiger, Vyagra Parakrama. And lastly, he's shown holding a battle axe, like Parashurama holds a battle axe, therefore called Kritanta Parashu. So corresponding title and what the king was doing. So this is another source of information for the study of the Guptas. Yeah, Divyani, maximum number of gold coins were issued by Samudragupta. Guptas issued the maximum number of gold coins. And among the Gupta kings, Samudragupta issued the maximum number of gold coins. So you can see here on your screen, Samudragupta on a coin, right? On a coin, you can see he's riding a horse. He's playing the lute. He's called Kaviraja. He's playing a veena-like instrument called the lute. This is the dinar type of gold coin. Then we have Chandragupta II. He was the first Gupta king to issue silver coins. Chandragupta II, after defeating the Shakas of Ujjain, we'll come to the political history. So he was the first Gupta king to issue silver coins after defeating the Shakas of Ujjain. And we have various titles mentioned on his silver coins, Simha Chandra, Narendra Simha, Simha Vikrama, like that. Then in Maharashtra, at a place called Samand in Maharashtra, we have found 1,395 silver coins of Kumara Gupta. And in that, he is shown performing Ashwamedha sacrifice and the corresponding title, Ashwamahendra. So these are the various coins of the Guptas. So you can see on your screen, this is pretty much the conquest of the Gupta kings. So you can see in the dark blue color, whatever you see in dark blue is the conquest of Chandragupta the first. So don't get confused with Chandragupta Maurya. This is Chandragupta belonging to the Gupta dynasty. So this is the conquest of Chandragupta the first. In this color, whatever that color is, violet, this is the conquest of Samudragupta. These are the conquest of Samudra. And whatever you see in blue color, in the Gujarat region, this is the conquest of Chandragupta the second, Vikramaditya. Right? And of course, those green colors, those were independent. Is a surname. The political history you can see here, Sri Gupta, Chandragupta the first, Samudragupta, etc. We'll talk about it. So I have another 4 minutes to go. So No, look here. Who is the founder of the Gupta dynasty? Sri Gupta. So he was the founder of the Gupta dynasty, Sri Gupta. He was the founder. And he is supposed to have built a vihara at West Bengal, present day Bengal, at a place called Mrugasikhavana. You can see here, Mrugasikhavana. So he built one vihara or a monastery at Mrugasikhavana, and he is the founder of the dynasty. And he is supposed to be a feudatory. We don't know whose feudatory he was because he took the title of Maharaja. He took the title of Maharaja, which suggests that he had a feudatory status. Under whom he was a feudatory, we don't know. Then Chandragupta the first, he took the title of Maharaja Raja, which means to say that he was independent. He had become independent. Maharaja Raja. And Chandragupta the first married a Lichavi princess. So please understand, Guptas were Vaishyas. Guptas were Vaishyas by Varna. They were Vaishyas. They were third in the social hierarchy. And Chandragupta the first married a Lichavi princess called Kumara Devi. Kumara Devi was a Lichavi princess. Lichavis were Kshatriyas. So you have the Gupta king Chandragupta, who was a Vaishya marrying a Kshatriya. So that gave prestige to the Guptas. That gave prestige to the Guptas because Vaishyas were marrying Vaishya was marrying a Kshatriya princess, somebody higher in the social hierarchy. So that gave prestige to the Guptas. And the son born to Chandragupta the first and Kumara Devi was this man called Samudragupta. Okay, now Chandragupta the first came to power on February the 26th, 319, 320 AD. So this is the date he came to power, February 26th, 319, 320 AD. And this is said to mark the beginning of the Gupta era. This is said to mark the beginning of the Gupta era. So I stop here because I don't have time to continue. But this is pretty much what we have done in this class. We'll continue to our next class, that is on Monday. I'll finish the Guptas and then I'll finish also the post-Gupta period on Monday. And on Tuesday onwards, we can start with medieval India, right? So whatever doubts are there, you can always mail me. This is my mail address. I've given it to you earlier, vijay.kumar@byju's.com. So utilize the weekend time for studies. Whatever we have covered, thoroughly read your textbook, read the PPT first, then go back and read your notes, whatever notes you've written down in the class. Revise, please revise within 24 hours, and then you would finish all the revision till whatever we have done now in these 2 days, today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, and we'll come back and meet on Monday. Okay, right? Chandragupta the first, Purva, he was coronated. He comes to power on that date, February 26, 319, 320 AD. That is said to mark the beginning of the Gupta era. Okay, right? Purva says, sir, Samudragupta खिचड़ी बन गया. हम सब को खिचड़ी है, Purva. हम सब खिचड़ी है. Okay, so fine. We'll come back here. You have any doubts, please mail me. So here and there, I might have gone a little fast, but I told you because of factual reasons, because of the factual nature of the topic, I might have gone fast. So you have a good day, have a safe weekend. We'll meet on Monday. Okay? Take care. Good day. Bye. I will log out.